The first time Evan called my military friends strangers, Lena had just set my 3-year sobriety medallion beside my chili bowl. It made a soft click against the table. Nothing dramatic, just bronze touching wood. Evan leaned back in his chair and looked from Lena to Calvin to Wes, as if he had found 3 people waiting at the wrong gate. "I'm not trying to be rude," he said, which was how Evan announced he intended to be rude carefully. "I just don't understand why strangers are part of something this private." "They're not strangers," I said. "They're strangers to this marriage, Mara. They weren't the ones living through it." Calvin stopped chewing. Wes lowered his spoon. Across from me, Lena became so still that I could see the pulse near her temple. Then she looked at my husband and asked, "Do you remember the blue chair?" Evan's face didn't change, but his thumb pressed hard enough against his napkin to tear it. I knew which chair she meant. So did he. 7 hours earlier, I had been standing on a step stool with a can of tomatoes in one hand when Evan walked into the kitchen and asked why I was making enough chili for a fire station. 6 people, I said. He opened the refrigerator, stared into it, and shut it again without taking anything. Evan did this when he wanted food to introduce itself. 6? You, me, Lena, Calvin, Wes, and the cornbread. I don't think cornbread counts as a person. You haven't tried Lena's. He gave me the smile that used to mean he was amused, and now often meant he had decided to postpone an argument. At 42, Evan was still handsome in a way that made strangers trust him with ladders. Broad shoulders, dark hair beginning to silver at the temples, work shirts that always looked better after he had gotten sawdust on them. He renovated kitchens for people who had opinions about drawer pulls and no idea where their water shutoff was. His company had started as 1 truck and a borrowed circular saw. By then it was 2 trucks, 3 subcontractors, and me answering calls that began with, "I know Evan is busy, but..." He picked up the envelope beside the fruit bowl. "What's this?" "My meeting schedule." He glanced at it as if the paper had personally accused him of something. "Why is it in an envelope?" "Because Donna handed it to me in an envelope." "You going more often?" "Same as usual." He put it down. "I was just asking." I kept arranging cans in the pantry. Labels forward, oldest dates in front. Evan called it my military pantry when company was over. When it was only us, he asked why canned beans needed to stand at attention. He lifted the lid off the slow cooker. "Don't." "I'm checking it." "You're releasing heat." "Does the chili have classified material in it?" "Yes." "Put the lid down." He did, laughing. And for a second, we were the version of us I kept insisting was still in the house somewhere. That morning had begun at 5:40, when I woke to the familiar hot wire running from my left shoulder to my wrist. I lay still and counted backward from 60. Not because counting fixed pain, it gave pain somewhere to stand. Evan slept on his stomach, one arm hanging off the mattress. His phone was under his pillow, even though I had told him heat and batteries were not a romance anyone wanted to encourage. At 6:10, his alarm went off. He slapped the bed twice, found my hip once, and finally pulled the phone out. "Sorry," he mumbled. "You nearly snoozed my kidney. Did it need more rest?" He fell asleep again. I got up, rolled my shoulder until it clicked, and went downstairs. The house was quiet except for the furnace and the small hum the refrigerator had made ever since Evan promised to look at it. I made coffee, measured my morning medication into my palm, and stood at the sink while I swallowed it. 3 years sober. Some people celebrated with cake. Some got tattoos. Calvin had suggested I commemorate the occasion by buying a kayak, though I had never expressed an interest in kayaking, and he did not own one himself. I wanted dinner. Nothing ceremonial, no circle of folding chairs, no one saying journey in a meaningful voice, chili, cornbread, and the 3 people who had kept showing up when I had become very talented at giving them reasons not to. I had invited them 2 weeks before. I told Evan the same night. He had been at the dining table with a yellow legal pad, trying to price a bathroom renovation for a couple named the Harpers. He had undercounted the tile by 24 square feet. "Lena, Calvin, and Wes are coming on Saturday," I said. "What's Saturday?" I waited. He looked up. I know, I'm kidding. You're bad at it. Anniversary dinner. Got it. Not our anniversary. Mara. 3 years. His expression softened on cue. I know what you meant. Then he reached across the table and squeezed my hand, and I chose not to ask why his first answer had been a joke. Now, with 6 hours until dinner, he leaned against the counter and checked his phone. Mom might stop by, he said. The can in my hand paused halfway to the shelf. Tonight? She said she had something for us. What? I don't know. Probably those storage containers she keeps trying to give us. Can she stop by tomorrow? He looked surprised, not because the request was unreasonable, but because I had made one before arranging the solution myself. She's lonely, Mara. I know she's lonely. Tonight is already planned. She'll stay 10 minutes. Your mother has never stayed 10 minutes anywhere. She can turn returning a casserole dish into a hostage situation. He laughed, but he didn't text her. Marlene isn't part of this, I said. Part of what? I hated that question. Not because he didn't know, because he could make knowing sound like an unreasonable burden. This dinner, it's chilly with friends. Yes. So why does it matter if Mom drops in? I stepped off the stool. Because I invited the people I wanted here. Something tightened around his mouth. It disappeared almost immediately. Okay, he said. Message received. That phrase meant I would pay for the boundary later, usually in a currency too small to complain about. At 11:30, Evan left to check a job site. Before he went, he kissed the side of my head and asked if I could look over the Harper estimate. It's on the table. I'm cooking. Whenever you get a minute. I don't have a minute today. It'll take you 5. It'll take me 45 because you price the shower niche as if it builds itself. He stared at me. You already looked? The material numbers are wrong. Then fix them. There it was. Not cruel. Almost affectionate. Evan said fix them the way some husbands said love you. I'm not working today, I said. You answer the phone from the house. That still counts as working. Of course it counts. His voice warmed instantly. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? He checked the time. I can't do this right now. I'm not doing anything. Exactly. He picked up his keys. I nearly reminded him that his tape measure was on the washing machine, where he had left it after measuring a shelf for his mother. Then I let him go without it. At 12:15, he called. Do you know where my tape is? No. A brief silence. You sure? Yes. I was standing 3 feet from it. He exhaled. Never mind. Found another one. After we hung up, I looked at the tape measure. I expected guilt. What I felt was closer to seasickness, the floor shifting because I had declined to hold it still. Lena arrived first at 5:20 with a cast-iron skillet wrapped in 2 dish towels. She had been an Army nurse when we met and was now an emergency department charge nurse who could make an intoxicated man hand over a pocket knife by asking politely once. She wore red glasses, silver hoops, and a denim jacket with a loose button she had refused to sew back on for at least 4 years. You look nervous, she said. You look judgmental. I'm always judgmental. You're usually not nervous. She put the skillet on the stove, hugged me, and held on 1 second longer than people did when they were pretending not to evaluate you. I'm fine, I said into her hair. Didn't ask. You implied. I have expressive eyebrows. She pulled back and inspected the kitchen. Where's Evan? Job site. Today? People renovate on Saturdays. People also develop appendicitis on Christmas. Doesn't make it festive. I handed her a spoon. Taste that. She tasted the chili and frowned. What? It's good. I wanted something to criticize. You'll find something. His name Evan? I pointed the spoon at her. She raised both hands. Lena had never told me to leave my husband. That would have made her easier to dismiss. She only asked questions and remembered the answers, which was worse. Calvin came 20 minutes later carrying a grocery store pie with a clearance sticker still on it. I removed the price, he announced. The orange sticker is right there, Lena said. I removed a price. Calvin had been a motor transport operator, 6'3" and built like a man who should have enjoyed basketball, but preferred birdwatching. He had driven through sleet from Ohio that afternoon and complained only about a podcast host who pronounced nuclear as nuclear. He hugged me with one arm, keeping the pie level in the other. 3 years, he said. 3 years. You buy the kayak? No. Still think it would change your life. So would a sinkhole. That's the spirit. Wes arrived at 6, carrying flowers from a gas station and wearing the expression of someone embarrassed to have been seen purchasing them. He had a slight hitch in his right leg when the weather changed, though he pretended otherwise and we pretended not to watch him take stairs. These were the least romantic, he said, handing me yellow carnations. Thank you? They had red roses, but I didn't want Evan challenging me to a duel. Evan doesn't own a sword. He owns 3 nail guns. I've assessed the threat. They filled my kitchen without taking it over. Calvin chopped green onions when I asked. Wes found bowls after opening only one wrong cabinet. Lena turned the cornbread out onto a plate and cursed when half of it stayed in the skillet. I laughed hard enough that my shoulder hurt. For 40 minutes, I didn't check the driveway. Then headlights moved across the front window. Finally, I said, though no one had asked. A car door slammed, then another, then a third. Lena looked toward the hall. Calvin stopped chopping. The front door opened, and Evan's voice came through the house, bright and expansive. We're here. He entered carrying 2 bottles of wine. Behind him came his mother in a quilted purple coat. Paige followed with her husband, Nate, balancing a bakery box against his chest. For one stupid second, I counted chairs. Evan kissed my cheek and held up the bottles like an offering. I figured actual family should celebrate too, he said. His eyes moved over the kitchen, the flowers, the cornbread, and the 3 people who knew exactly how many times he had come to see me. Then he smiled at them as if they had never met. Marlene took off her coat and handed it to me before I had decided whether to take it. I told him we shouldn't barge in, she said, already barging toward the kitchen. But he said you'd made enough for an army. Fire station, Evan corrected. That doesn't even make sense. Paige kissed my cheek, then glanced at the crowded counter. Did we misunderstand something? No, Evan said. Yes, I said. We spoke at the same time. Nate closed the front door with his elbow. He was a quiet, square man who installed commercial flooring and treated every room as if someone had asked him to determine whether it was level. He looked at Evan, looked at me, and lifted the bakery box slightly. We brought cheesecake. Of course you can stay, I heard myself say. Lena's eyes met mine. She did not roll them. She didn't have to. Evan put 1 wine bottle on the counter and began opening the other. We have glasses somewhere, he said. Cabinet above the dishwasher, I told him. I knew that. He opened the cabinet beside it. The kitchen shifted into the kind of crowded politeness that makes everyone louder. Marlene greeted my friends as if she were presiding over a church vestibule. You're the military people, she said. Among other things, Lena replied. Marlene laughed uncertainly. Well, obviously. Paige shook hands with Calvin and then looked up at him. Evan wasn't exaggerating. About my exceptional manners? Your altitude. I come with my own weather. Nate offered to help, so I gave him bowls. Marlene asked if the chili had beans, then informed me that some people in Texas would consider that grounds for arrest. Wes said he had spent time in Texas and doubted they could organize the paperwork. It might have become a decent evening if Evan had allowed the room to settle. Instead, he kept working it. He poured wine for his mother, Paige, Nate, and himself. He did not offer any to my friends, which should have been thoughtful but felt like drawing a border around them. Then he raised his glass. To Mara, he said, 3 years of not trying to kill me. Paige laughed before realizing no one else had. Evan touched his glass to mine. I had sparkling water. What? He said. Too soon? 3 years too late, Lena muttered. I pretended not to hear because I was still trying to make the evening survivable. That was a habit of mine. If everyone was uncomfortable, I began moving objects. I took the chili to the table. Calvin carried the cornbread. Wes brought sour cream and cheese. Marlene moved place cards that did not exist, trying to seat couples together, which left my 3 friends clustered at one end like a visiting delegation. I put Lena beside me. There were only 6 dining chairs. Evan brought in 2 folding chairs from the garage and a rolling office chair from his desk. "I'll take the roller," Calvin said. "If dinner goes badly, I can escape." "You're not going anywhere until you eat that discount pie," I told him. "It's artisanal. It has a dent. That's how you know a human touched it." For a few minutes, spoons against bowls did the work conversation couldn't. My chili was good. Lena's cornbread looked like it had survived an earthquake, but it tasted better than mine ever did. Nate went back for seconds. Marlene said the beans were surprisingly acceptable. Then Paige asked Wes how he knew me. "Germany first," he said. "You were stationed together?" "Eventually. She patched me up overseas." Evan made a small sound into his wine. Wes glanced at him. "That funny?" "No. I've just heard the story. You've heard her version." Silence landed so cleanly I could almost admire it. "My version?" I asked. Wes's ears reddened. "That came out wrong." "What's the other version?" Paige asked, smiling because she thought we were teasing. "The heroic version," Evan said. "The one where your sister-in-law dragged Wes through enemy fire with one arm and performed surgery using a paperclip." "I never said that," I told him. "I'm exaggerating." "That's what you think I did? Can we not interrogate every joke tonight?" Lena tore a piece of cornbread in half. "You could try a different kind of joke." Marlene gave her a startled look. I put my spoon down. Wes had shrapnel in his thigh. I stopped the bleeding until evacuation. That's the story. "You also kept me conscious," Wes said, "by insulting your truck. It was a good truck. It had carpet on the dashboard. That was protective. It was mold." Calvin leaned toward Paige. "They've had this argument for 15 years. The room loosened. Even Evan smiled. That was the confusing thing about him. He could feel the point at which a room might turn against him, and he knew how to step back into charm before anyone named what he had been doing. He passed Wes the cheese. He asked Calvin about his drive. He told Lena his mother had once worked in a hospital, though Marlene had been a billing clerk for 11 months in 1987. I began to think we might get through dessert. Then Lena reached into her bag. She did it without ceremony. No speech, exactly as I had asked. She set a small bronze medallion beside my bowl. 3 years, it said on one side. "To thine own self be true on the other." I ran my thumb over the raised number. "You already gave me one," I said. "That was 2. I know how numbers work. Debatable. You married a contractor." Nate coughed into his fist. Paige stared very hard at her chili. Lena smiled at me. The expression lasted only a second, but it held all 12 weeks of fluorescent hallways, burnt coffee, and conversations neither of us would repeat at a dinner table. "I'm proud of you," she said. Calvin lifted his water glass. "Same." Wes nodded. "Even if you won't buy the kayak." Marlene leaned across the table. "Is that from the facility?" "Yes," I said. "What facility?" Paige asked. No one answered immediately. Paige looked at Evan. "Rehab." He frowned at her. "You know she went to rehab. I knew she had treatment. I didn't know it was residential. It wasn't a secret," he said. "It had not been a secret. It had been edited." Marlene touched the stem of her wine glass. "We were told privacy was important." "Privacy is important," Evan said. He leaned back, gaze moving from the medallion to Lena. "I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't understand why strangers are part of something this private." The words sounded exactly as they had 7 hours later in my memory, except I was still sitting inside them. "They're not strangers," I said. "They're strangers to this marriage, Mara. They weren't the ones living through it." Calvin stopped chewing. Wes lowered his spoon. Lena went still. Then she asked, "Do you remember the blue chair?" Evan's thumb tore through his napkin. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The chair in the family visitation room," Lena said. "Blue vinyl, split down one side. They put silver tape over it, but the tape curled up in the heat. "Lena," I said. She kept looking at Evan. "Mara sat in that chair for 3 hours the Sunday you said you were coming. I had work. She thought you'd been in an accident." I called. At 6:40 that evening. His chair scraped back an inch. "I'm not doing this." Calvin put his spoon down gently. "She didn't ask us to. Then why are you?" Wes looked at me, not Evan. "Because he called us strangers." My throat felt narrow. "Stop!" Lena turned to me. I said, "Stop." She sat back. Calvin's hands disappeared beneath the table. Wes stared at the carnations in the center, their plastic wrapper still around the stems because I had forgotten to find a vase. I looked at Evan. "How many times did you visit?" He laughed once. It had no humor in it. "Seriously? How many? This is what I mean. 3 people show up, start telling war stories, and suddenly I'm being court-martialed in my own house. No one mentioned the army. You didn't have to." Paige spoke quietly. "Evan, just answer her." He turned on her. "Stay out of it." Her face changed. Paige was 5 years younger than Evan, but in that moment I saw every family dinner at which he had still considered her the little sister who could be dismissed by volume. Nate set his spoon in his empty bowl. "Don't talk to her like that." "Oh, for God's sake." Marlene's fingers tightened around her glass. "How many times did you go?" Evan looked from one face to the next, searching for the softest place to land. His eyes stopped on me. "You know what was happening then," he said. "I know where I was. I was keeping everything together here. How many times? Work didn't stop because you checked into a facility, Mara. Bills didn't stop. My mother still needed help. The house still existed." "Twice," Lena said. I did not look at her. Evan did. "You don't get to answer for me." "Then answer." "Twice," I said. The word was smaller in the room than I expected. Marlene blinked. 12 weeks? "He called me," I said. "I called every day," Evan said quickly. "You called most days. You didn't always answer. I was in treatment. You were angry at me." "Yes?" "There. See?" He gestured at the table as if he had finally produced the missing exhibit. "That's what nobody wants to talk about. You weren't exactly easy to visit." Lena inhaled. I touched her wrist under the table. Evan saw. That was when his anger sharpened into something cleaner. "You share everything with them, don't you?" "No. Enough. They were there. And I wasn't. That's the entire point of this little dinner, right?" I looked at him. I wanted chili. Calvin made a sound that might have become a laugh in another room. Evan stood. "Great. Enjoy it." He carried his bowl into the kitchen, though it was still half full. A second later, we heard him dump the chili into the trash. The bowl hit the sink hard enough to make Marlene flinch. No one knew where to put their eyes. Nate chose his food. Paige stared at her brother's empty chair. Wes reached for his water and knocked his spoon onto the floor. Marlene bent to pick it up. "Leave it," I said. She straightened slowly. I didn't know. I wanted to tell her that she hadn't asked. I wanted to tell her Evan had not technically lied when he said I needed privacy. He had merely stood in front of the truth until everyone got tired of trying to see around him. Instead, I said, "I know." Lena rose. "We should go." "No." The word came out too fast. "Please finish dinner." "Mara, if everyone leaves, then this becomes the thing he says it was." "What thing?" Calvin asked. I looked toward the kitchen. An ambush, an attack. A group of unstable veterans surrounding a patient husband while his family watched. I picked up my spoon. "A bad dinner," I said. "That's all." So we ate. It was terrible. Calvin told a story about buying binoculars from a man who insisted cardinals migrated to Mexico. Paige asked Lena about emergency room staffing. Nate had a third helping because he seemed to believe consuming enough chili could restore order. Evan stayed in the garage until the cheesecake was cut. When he returned, his expression was calm. Too calm. He declined dessert and began washing dishes while the rest of us were still eating, filling every pause with running water. My friends left first. Wes hugged me at the door. Calvin whispered, "Call if you need me," then winced as if he regretted making it sound urgent. Lena held my coat sleeve. "You sure?" "No." "Yes." She searched my face, then nodded. She knew the difference between rescuing someone and standing close enough for them to choose. Marlene left with Paige and Nate. Before stepping onto the porch, she touched my arm. "I really didn't know," she repeated. Behind me, Evan dropped a spoon into the sink. "I know," I said again. After the last car pulled away, I closed the door and turned the lock. The house smelled like chili, dish soap, and wine. Evan stood in the dining room collecting glasses. "You humiliated me," he said. I looked at the bronze medallion still beside my bowl. "You called them strangers. They ganged up on me in my own home." They remembered a chair. He stacked 2 wine glasses together, rim against rim. I watched, waiting for one to crack. "You've been different lately," he said. The words were quiet enough to be mistaken for concern. I picked up my medallion. "So have you," I said. "No." He met my eyes. "I've just started noticing." "Noticing what?" He carried the glasses into the kitchen. I followed because leaving the question in the dining room would have been too easy for him. "That you don't talk to me anymore. I talk to you every day. You give me information. That's not the same." He set the glasses beside the sink and finally separated them. "You tell me what time a client called. You tell me we're out of coffee. You tell me my estimate is wrong. But anything real?" He shook his head. "Lena gets that," Lena asks. I ask. "You ask if I'm fine. And you say you are. Then you believe me because it's convenient." His mouth opened, closed. I slipped the medallion into my pocket. The edge pressed against my thigh. Evan lowered his voice. "Do you know what it was like here while you were gone?" "No." "You never told me. I didn't want to burden you. That's not why. You've decided what everything means tonight." I looked at the sink. One of the bowls had a fresh chip in the rim. I had bought that set when we moved into the house. 8 white bowls because white matched anything. We were down to 5. "Why did you bring your family?" I asked. "We already covered that." "No, you said they should celebrate. You knew I hadn't invited them. They're my family. They're mine too. You have a funny way of showing it." I stared at him. "What does that mean?" "It means Mom asks why you never call. Paige thinks you don't like her. I talked to Paige last week about her kitchen counters. She asked me about kitchen counters. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You keep everyone at arm's length, then act shocked when I try to include them. He could do that, take a room he had overcrowded against my wishes, and make it evidence of my coldness. The turn was so smooth that I almost followed him into it. Almost. "You didn't include them," I said. "You brought backup." His face hardened. "For what?" "I don't know. You tell me. You think I planned that? I think you don't like being the only person in a room who knows the truth." He laughed again, quieter this time. "The truth. Right." He dried his hands on the towel and walked past me. I heard his steps on the stairs. "Where are you going?" "To bed." "We're not done." "I am." I stood alone in the kitchen with 8 dirty bowls, 4 wine glasses, 6 spoons, 1 bent fork, and a slow cooker ringed with dried sauce. It took me a full minute to understand I was counting. I put the food away. I loaded the dishwasher. I scrubbed the slow cooker because chili left overnight became concrete. I wiped the table, found Wes's spoon beneath Marlene's chair, and put the carnations in a blue glass pitcher. Then I took the bronze medallion upstairs. Evan was asleep or performing sleep with impressive commitment. He lay on his side facing the wall. His breathing was deep but too evenly spaced. I changed in the bathroom and opened the top drawer where I kept bandages, heating pads, and the orange prescription bottles that used to make my pulse speed up just from hearing them rattle. The bottles in there now were current, counted, and taken exactly as directed. I had worked hard enough for that fact that I no longer called it small. I almost put the medallion in the drawer. Instead, I set it on my bedside table where Evan could see it in the morning. He did not mention it. By Sunday afternoon, the house had returned to normal in the way a knee can look normal beneath jeans while swelling against the fabric. Evan made pancakes. He used too much oil, burned the first batch, and handed me the second one shaped vaguely like Florida. "Peace offering," he said. "What happened to the pan handle?" "Structural failure." I smiled before I could stop myself. He put a plate in front of me and sat across the table with his coffee. He looked tired. There was gray under his eyes, and some disloyal part of me wanted to smooth it away. "I'm sorry I used the word strangers," he said. There were 8 other words I wanted him to apologize for. "Why did you?" I felt cornered. "That happened afterward." He rubbed his forehead. "I felt like it was their night, not ours. It was mine. I know. Do you?" "I'm trying, Mara. I cut Florida in half." He watched me pour syrup. "I should have visited more," he said. The admission landed gently enough that I almost trusted it. Then he added, "But you know how hard that place made it." I set the syrup down. The place had visiting hours. They had rules about everything. You couldn't have your phone. I couldn't just call you when I got there. Half the time you were in sessions. They posted my schedule. 2 hours each way, and if traffic was bad, Lena drove 4. She didn't have a business to run. She worked nights in an emergency room. He leaned back. "See, this is why I didn't want to talk about it. Anything I say gets compared to your perfect military friends. They aren't perfect. They're loyal to you." "Yes." The answer surprised both of us. Evan stared into his coffee. "I'm loyal to you too." I wanted to ask what loyalty meant to him. Instead, I ate a bite of pancake that tasted like oil and powdered mix. His phone rang on the counter. He glanced at the screen. "Don't pick up if Harper calls today. He's getting obsessive. I wasn't planning to. I'm just telling you." The phone stopped, then began again 10 seconds later. "Is that him?" Different client. He let it ring. I finished half my pancake and carried my plate to the sink. "Are we okay?" he asked. I turned around. He gave me the same worried smile he had used during the worst month after rehab, when every quiet moment made him wonder if I was thinking about pills. It had once felt like concern. Now I saw how often the question required me to comfort him. "No," I said. His smile vanished. "But we can be," I added, because I still needed to believe that. He nodded slowly. "Okay. How?" "Start by apologizing to my friends." His eyebrows rose. "They attacked me." Lena spoke out of turn. I stopped her. "After she told my entire family something private, you did that when you brought them." He pushed his chair back. "So we're back here. We never left." His phone rang a 3rd time. He grabbed it and walked into the garage, answering in his professional voice before the door had closed. "Hey, Dawn. Sorry I missed you." Monday morning, I attended my regular recovery meeting in the basement of a Lutheran church that smelled like lemon cleaner and old coffee. The chairs were brown metal, not blue vinyl, but I still checked. Donna waved me over. She was 60-something, sharp-faced, and wore orthopedic sneakers with aggressively cheerful socks. She had handed me the schedule envelope on Friday because she printed everything and distrusted phones. "Heard you had an anniversary," she said. "Rumors travel fast." Lena texted me. "Of course she did. She said the chili was good." "That's all?" Donna sipped her coffee. "She said you'd tell me the rest if you wanted." During the meeting, a man named Phil talked about getting through a company picnic without drinking. A woman across from me admitted she had driven past a liquor store 3 times before calling her sponsor. Nobody clapped at the wrong moments. Nobody turned pain into a performance. When it came to me, I rubbed the bronze medallion between my thumb and forefinger. I had brought it in my pocket. "I had people over," I said. It didn't go well. Donna waited. "My husband called the people who visited me in residential treatment strangers." Phil muttered something impolite. "It got ugly," I continued, "and I keep thinking I caused it because I didn't manage the room better." The woman across from me tilted her head. "Were you hosting dinner or diffusing a bomb?" "Dinner." "What kind of dinner requires a diffusal team?" A few people laughed. I did too, but my eyes burned. Afterward, Donna walked with me to the parking lot. Cold air slipped beneath my collar. "You want advice?" she asked. "No." "Good. I don't have any." "That's very professional." "I'm not your therapist. You still usually have advice." She stopped beside my car. "Fine. One question." I waited. "What did you do after everyone left?" "Cleaned." "All of it?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because it needed doing." Donna looked back at the church. "That building needs a new roof. You planning to handle that, too?" I unlocked my car. "You're annoying. I've stayed sober 27 years through spite." I drove home thinking about the dishes. At 11, Evan called. "Did Harper reach you?" "No." "You sure?" I think I'd remember. "He says he called the house twice." I didn't answer. There was a pause filled with construction noise. "Can you call him back?" "What for? Calm him down. Tell him the tile order's fine." "Is it?" "It will be." That's not what he asked. "Mara, I'm standing in a gutted bathroom right now, and I'm not working today. It's Monday. I haven't been paid in 6 weeks. You handle the books, not payroll. You told me cash was tight and asked me to wait. Because it's our business. It's your company. Our income comes from it. Then answer your client." His voice dropped. "Are we really doing this? I don't know what this is." "You know exactly what it is. You're punishing me. For dinner? For telling the truth about your friends." I gripped the phone hard enough that my shoulder tightened. What truth was that? That they don't belong in our marriage. They weren't in our marriage. They were eating chili. You let them judge me. You gave them something to judge. He went silent. A saw whined in the background. Someone shouted his name. "I have to go," he said. "Please call Harper." He hung up before I answered. The house phone rang 12 minutes later. I stood in the kitchen and watched it. On the 4th ring, the answering machine picked up. Mr. Harper's voice filled the room, tense but polite, asking whether the tile had been ordered because the supplier had no record of it. I knew the supplier's number. I knew the order code was written in Evan's yellow pad beneath a coffee ring. I knew I could fix the problem in under 10 minutes and prevent an argument that would otherwise come home with him. I also knew the tile had not been ordered. The machine beeped. I took one step toward the dining table. Then I stopped. The medallion in my pocket pressed against my leg, small and hard and impossible to mistake for comfort. I left the message where it was. The message light blinked all afternoon. At 3, Mr. Harper called again. At 3:20, his wife called and sounded less polite. I let both messages play while I folded laundry in the living room. Every ring tightened something in my chest. I knew the sequence. Confirm the tile stock, call the distributor, ask them to hold it, correct Evan's measurements, email the Harpers before they could imagine the worst. If I moved quickly enough, everyone's blood pressure would stay down and Evan would come home believing the day had gone approximately as planned. Instead, I matched socks. At 6:15, his truck hit the driveway too fast. The front door opened hard enough to bump the wall. "Mara," in here. He appeared in the living room still wearing his work boots. White dust coated his jeans from the knees down, and the angry red line across his forehead meant he had worn safety glasses on top of his head for hours. "You didn't call him." "No. He canceled the tile." "He couldn't cancel tile you never ordered." Evan stared at me. "You listened to the messages. They played out loud. And you just sat here?" "I did laundry." He looked at the folded towels beside me as if they had participated. "I asked you to make one call, and I said I wasn't working. You knew what would happen. I knew what might happen. That distinction really mattered to you?" "Yes." He laughed and paced once across the rug. Fine white footprints followed him. "The supplier gave our stock to another contractor. We've got a 2-week delay now, assuming Harper doesn't fire us first. You told him it was ordered. I told him I was handling it. You told me to tell him the order was fine. It would have been if you'd called." "No. A phone call doesn't place an order. It buys time. For you. For us." I put a paired set of socks into the basket. You keep saying us when you need me to absorb the impact. His face went very still. Is this what Donna's telling you? Donna doesn't know who Harper is. Lena then. No one told me not to call him. Right. You independently decided 3 days after dinner that you don't work here anymore. I decided 6 weeks without a paycheck means I don't work here right now. You have access to the accounts. For bookkeeping. It's all our money. Then why did you call my pay the easiest thing to delay? Because I thought my wife would understand. I did understand. That's why I agreed. I didn't agree to keep working for free while you ordered upgraded wheels for the second truck. His gaze flicked toward the window. The wheels had arrived the week before in 4 enormous boxes. Evan had described them as an investment in the company image. I had entered the expense into the software and moved our grocery budget around without saying what I thought. That was already committed, he said. So was my pay. God, you sound like an employee. I am an employee. You're my wife. I sat back. There it was again. Wife as a higher title when he wanted sacrifice. A lower one when I wanted a vote. He tugged at the cuff of his shirt. I'm not doing this while I'm covered in dust. You're getting it on the rug. His eyes dropped to his boots. For a second, we both almost laughed. That was the reflex our marriage had trained into us. Find the small, ridiculous thing before the large, ugly thing got teeth. He sat on the arm of the chair and unlaced his boots. I had a terrible day, he said. The anger had left his voice. He sounded exhausted. I'm sorry. Harper followed me around his own house for 40 minutes, asking if he'd made a mistake hiring me. That sounds awful. I needed you. The sentence went straight to the oldest part of me. I folded the last shirt to keep my hands occupied. You needed someone, I said. That doesn't automatically make it me. His shoulders slumped. I don't know who you are right now. That makes 2 of us. He carried his boots to the mudroom. I vacuumed the footprints because not vacuuming them would have punished the rug, and the rug had stayed out of it. The next morning, Evan left before I came downstairs. His coffee mug sat in the sink with a skin of cold coffee across the bottom. The yellow estimate pad was gone. At 9, I opened the company email. There were 27 unread messages. 3 were from the Harpers. 1 subcontractor needed confirmation for Thursday. A cabinet supplier wanted payment on an invoice that Evan had told me he disputed, but had never actually disputed. A woman named Mrs. Kellerman had written twice about a loose stair rail. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. For 9 years, I had answered nearly every message beginning with an apology for the delay, even when the delay had not been mine. I had a whole vocabulary for making other people feel heard without admitting liability. Thank you for your patience. I understand your concern. Evan has been in the field. We're reviewing the schedule. I opened a blank message to the subcontractor. Then I closed it. I created an automatic reply instead. Mara is currently unavailable for client and scheduling matters. Please contact Evan Vance directly at the number listed below. I read it 5 times. It sounded cold. I added thank you and read it again. Then I deleted. Thank you, because it implied I was grateful they had emailed me. I turned the automatic reply on. At 10:20, my cell rang. I expected Evan. It was Paige. Am I interrupting? She asked. No, you sound like you wanted me to be interrupting. I thought you were your brother. I get that a lot. Mom still calls me Evan when she's annoyed. I carried my coffee to the table. The company laptop remained open in front of me. Paige cleared her throat. I wanted to check on you. I'm still alive. See, when Evan says things like that, it's charming. He practices. She went quiet. I'm sorry about dinner, she said. You didn't bring yourself. No, but I stayed. So did everyone. I didn't know leaving was allowed. Despite myself, I smiled. Paige was a dental hygienist and had perfected a friendly tone that could persuade adults to admit they had not flossed since the previous administration. It made her hard to read over the phone. Evan called me yesterday, she said. About the tile? About you? I waited. He said, "You've been having a rough time." What kind of rough time? Just emotionally. Those were his words? He said the anniversary stirred up a lot. Did he mention that he invited you? He said you wanted family there, but then your friends made it weird. I looked at the blinking answering machine. The messages had not been deleted. "I didn't invite you," I said. "I figured that out when you looked at us like we were a gas leak. That wasn't personal." "I know. Do you?" "Yes." The professional friendliness disappeared from her voice. "I do now." A cabinet door slammed somewhere on her end. "I should have asked you about Rehab," she said. "Not that night. Before. You were told not to. I'm an adult. I let Evan do that thing where he becomes the official source for everyone else's life." I rubbed my thumb along the edge of the table. "What did he say when you asked how many times he visited?" "He said visits weren't the only measure of support." "That sounds like him." "It also didn't answer me." "No, it didn't." Paige exhaled. "I'm not choosing sides. I didn't ask you to." "I know. I'm saying it because in our family, not choosing sides usually means pretending nothing happened. That also sounds like your family." "Our family," she corrected gently. The word hurt more than I expected. "Can I take you to lunch?" she asked. "Not today. Some other time. Maybe." She accepted that without making me comfort her. When we hung up, I stared at the dark screen of my phone. A new email arrived on the company laptop. The subject line read, "Automatic reply?" It was from Evan. "Very funny. Turn this off." I closed the laptop. Marlene called just before noon. "I hope I'm not bothering you," she said, then continued without waiting. "The grocery order hasn't arrived, and I wondered if you had changed the delivery time." I opened the calendar on my phone automatically. Her order repeated every Tuesday. Usually I reviewed it Monday night, added whatever she had mentioned during the week, and confirmed the payment. Her credit card had expired the previous month. I had asked Evan 3 times to get the replacement number. "I didn't place it," I said. "Oh. Evan has the new card information. I gave it to him last Thursday." "I know." A pause. "Well, maybe he forgot to tell you. He did tell me. I asked him to update it." Another pause. Longer, this time. "Are you two fighting?" she asked. "We had an argument." "About Saturday?" "Saturday was part of it." Marlene lowered her voice as if Evan might be standing beside her. "He says those people upset you. Those people? Your friends. I didn't mean Mara, you know what I meant. Yes, he's worried. That's all." "Did he sound worried when he told you he visited me twice?" "That's between you and Evan. He made it part of dinner. You asked him in front of everyone." "Because he called the people who came strangers in front of everyone." Marlene sighed. "I don't want to get pulled into your marriage." I looked at the grocery calendar. For 3 years, I had known which brand of tea she liked when she needed detergent and why she bought the small jars of peanut butter, even though the larger ones cost less. Evan did not know she hated substitutions because a delivery driver had once replaced her decaf with regular, and she had spent the night convinced she was having a heart attack. "I agree," I said. "What? You shouldn't be pulled into our marriage. I'm glad you understand. But your groceries are between you and Evan." Her voice sharpened. "That seems unnecessary. It was his responsibility. You've always handled it. I'm not handling it today. Because of an argument with my son? Because you gave the card number to your son." She was silent long enough that I checked the call hadn't dropped. "I suppose I can go to the store," she said. "I'm sure Evan will take care of it. I don't like driving after dark. It's noon. I know what time it is." Guilt moved through me, fast and familiar. I could have placed the order. It would have taken less than 5 minutes. I could have entered her card, selected no substitutions, added the chamomile tea she liked, and made sure the driver set the bags on the bench instead of blocking her screen door. Instead, I said, "Call Evan. This isn't like you." The words were not cruel. That made them worse. "I know," I said. After we hung up, I opened the company laptop again. A second message from Evan waited beneath the first. Mara. Clients are getting that reply. Turn it off now. My hand rested on the mouse. Then another email appeared, this one from Mrs. Kellerman. Your husband told me you would arrange someone to repair the rail. Please call as soon as possible. It is getting worse. That was different. A loose stair rail could hurt someone. Boundaries did not require me to become careless. I forwarded the message to Evan with 3 words. This needs attention. His answer came immediately. So handle it. I looked at the screen until the words blurred. Then I opened the payroll records. 6 unpaid weeks sat in neat rows, each one labeled deferred. I printed them, slid the pages into Donna's old schedule envelope beside the fruit bowl, and closed the laptop without changing the automatic reply. Evan found the envelope before he found me. I heard paper slide against the counter, then his footsteps crossed the kitchen. He came into the laundry room holding the payroll pages by one corner. What is this? You know what it is. Why did you print it? Because every time I mention 6 weeks, you act like I invented the number. I don't act like that. You told me I had access to the accounts, as if access is the same as being paid. He lowered the pages. Mom had to drive herself to the grocery store. It was noon. That isn't the point. No, the point is, she gave you her new card information last Thursday. I forgot. I know. And instead of reminding me, you let her call you and then refused to help. I reminded you 3 times. He looked toward the kitchen as though another version of the week might be waiting in there. I'm busy, Mara. So am I. With what? The question came out before he could dress it up. I stood beside the dryer with one hand resting on a basket of his clean work clothes. He saw it. For an instant, I watched him understand that the basket had not filled itself. He rubbed the back of his neck. That sounded bad. It sounded honest. I meant your home. Yes. You chose to handle the office from home. I chose that when I was being paid. You're acting like I pocketed your check. The company is short. The company bought wheels. Can we stop talking about the damn wheels? When they stop costing more than my 6 weeks. They project success. They project chrome. He laughed once, despite himself. Then his expression folded back into annoyance. I turned off the automatic reply. I noticed. You can't put something like that on a company account without talking to me. I did talk to you. You issued an ultimatum. I said I'm not working without pay. You're still part of the company, then pay me. I can't right now. Then I'm not part of the company right now. He tossed the payroll pages onto the dryer. A few slid to the floor. Fine. Fine what? Stay out of it. The words hit harder than I expected. I had asked for exactly that separation, but Evan could make agreement sound like banishment. Client calls, scheduling, estimates, suppliers. He continued, don't touch any of it. I won't. And when this blows over, don't tell me I shut you out. What blows over? This. He gestured between us. I looked down at the pages on the floor. You think this is a mood. I think you're hurt, and instead of admitting you're hurt, you're creating rules. Rules like paying employees. Rules like making me prove I love you by repeating the past the way your friends remember it. We were talking about work. We're never talking about work anymore. He walked out. I waited until the back door slammed before picking up the payroll pages. I put them back in order, slid them into the envelope, and returned it to the counter beside the fruit bowl. The laundry still needed finishing. I took his shirts from the dryer, shook them out, and carried them upstairs unfolded. That was not a strategy. It was the amount of energy I had left. An hour later, a company email appeared on my phone. Evan had not removed my access, probably because removing it required knowing the password he had asked me to create. To our valued clients, it began. I almost deleted it without reading. Then I saw my name. Mara will be stepping back temporarily from daily operations to focus on her personal health. Please direct all immediate questions to me. The message continued with assurances about service and schedules. He had signed it, Evan Vance, owner, in bold blue lettering. I read the health sentence again. My shoulder began throbbing, though I had not moved it. I called him. He declined the call. I called again. "What?" he answered. "You need to correct that email. I'm driving. You told clients I'm stepping back for my health. You are stepping back, not for my health. What do you want me to say? My wife is on strike because we had an argument. I want you to say I'm unavailable. That sounds like you quit. I did not quit. You agreed I wouldn't work until I'm paid. I'm not sending our clients a breakdown of our financial situation. Then don't give them a breakdown of my health. It's vague, Mara. It's deliberate." A turn signal clicked in the background. "You've been going to extra meetings," he said. "I went to my regular meeting. You had Donna's schedule on the counter. She printed me a schedule." "Why? Because that's what she does. I'm not trying to shame you. You are making my sobriety sound unstable because I stopped fixing your mistakes. That's not fair. Correct the email. I have to go. Evan." He hung up. I stood in the kitchen with my phone against my ear until the silence became embarrassing, even though no one else was there. Then I forwarded his message to my personal email, not as evidence for a case, not for revenge. I needed to know I had read the sentence correctly. I called Lena. She answered over a chorus of beeps and voices. "If you're bleeding, put pressure on it." "I'm not bleeding." "Then I need 10 minutes. You're at work." "This is where they keep making me come." "I'll call later." "No, I'll call you. 10 minutes. She called in 9. I told her about the dinner first, though she had been there. I apologized for snapping at her. "You were right to stop me," she said. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to. You were defending me." "I was mad. Those aren't always the same thing." I leaned against the counter. He emailed his clients and said, "I'm stepping back for my personal health." Lena was quiet. "Say something," I told her. "I'm trying to avoid becoming the friend who tells you what your marriage is. What kind of friend are you? The kind who remembers getting warned at dinner. That's not fair. No, it isn't." I shut my eyes. "I'm sorry. I know." She let me breathe for a moment. "What do you want to do?" she asked. "I want him to correct it. What if he doesn't?" "I don't know. Then maybe start there." She had to return to work. Before hanging up, she said, "For the record, I'm still mad. At me, at him, at myself, at whoever designed that blue chair. The chair didn't do anything. It pinched the backs of my legs. You complained about it every visit. Your rehab had terrible amenities. The laugh that escaped me felt disloyal and necessary. That evening, Evan did not come home for dinner. At 7:30, he texted that he was at the Harper's house trying to salvage the job. I made scrambled eggs and ate them standing over the sink. At 8:10, someone knocked. Marlene stood on the porch holding 2 reusable grocery bags and wearing the expression she usually reserved for malfunctioning appliances. "I brought back your containers," she said. "They're your containers. I don't need this many." She walked in before I answered, set the bags on the counter, and removed 4 glass containers with green lids. Underneath them were canned soup, tea, peanut butter, and a box of crackers. "You bought groceries," I said. "I'm not helpless." "I never said you were." "You behaved as if I were being unreasonable for expecting the order. I expected Evan to place it. He's working. So was I when I placed the others." Her mouth tightened. I offered coffee. She declined, then accepted tea. Marlene had a gift for refusing the first version of anything. While the kettle heated, she looked around the kitchen. "Where is he?" "At a client's." "Still?" "There was a problem." She nodded as if that confirmed something. "I told him Saturday should remain private," she said. "You came anyway. He said you wanted us." "I know what he said. He said you changed your mind because you didn't want your friends feeling outnumbered." I turned from the stove. "Before or after dinner? Did he tell you that?" "Before." The kettle clicked off. He had not merely brought backup. He had anticipated that I would object and prepared the explanation first. Marlene watched my face. "That wasn't true?" she asked. "No." "Well." She adjusted the strap of her purse. "He may have misunderstood. He didn't ask me. He could have thought. He knew who I invited. He knew why." Marlene stared into the empty mug I had placed in front of her. "Why didn't you want us?" she asked. The question sounded younger than she was. "It wasn't about not wanting you. You said family wasn't invited. I invited the people who visited me." Her eyes lifted to mine. I hadn't meant to say it that plainly. She touched the mug's handle. "I would have come." "Would you?" "If I'd known. You knew I was in treatment. Evan said you weren't ready to see anyone. I asked him if you had called." She blinked. "He told me you were overwhelmed," I said. "I thought that meant you didn't want to speak to me. He told us your counselors wanted limited contact. They wanted healthy contact." Marlene flinched at the word healthy. For the first time, I wondered what Evan had told himself while telling us different things. Maybe he had not thought of it as lying. Maybe each small separation had felt like reducing stress, keeping peace, controlling information until I came home recognizable again. Marlene wrapped both hands around her tea. "I sent a card," she said. "I never got one. I gave it to Evan to bring." Neither of us spoke. I could hear the refrigerator humming behind me. "It had flowers on it," she said. "Not roses. I thought roses would seem strange. What kind? Daisies, I think." I pictured a card in Evan's truck, beneath invoices and fast food wrappers, or in a drawer, or thrown away because he had decided one more emotional demand would be bad for me. Marlene pushed her tea aside without tasting it. "I should go. You just got here. I have things to put away." I looked at the grocery bags. "Do you want help carrying them?" "No." Then, after a moment, "Yes." At her car, she let me place the bags on the passenger seat. She stood with her keys in one hand, looking toward the house. "Don't punish him for trying to protect you," she said. The old answer rose automatically. "I won't." I swallowed it. Protection shouldn't make a person easier to control. She opened her mouth, then closed it. When Evan came home after 10, I was at the dining table. The company email was printed in front of me. He glanced at it and dropped his keys into the bowl. "How did it go with Harper?" I asked. "I kept the job. I'm glad." He looked wary, as if kindness were another trap. I tapped the sentence about my personal health. "Did you correct this?" "No." "Then I will." His head came up. "You agreed to stay out of the business. You put my name and my health into the business. What are you going to send?" "The truth, that I'm stepping back until my compensation is current. You'll scare every client we have, then send a correction without mentioning money. I'm not apologizing for wording. Neither am I." He pulled out the chair across from me and sat down slowly. "You talked to my mother. She came here. What did you tell her?" "The truth." His expression changed. Not guilt, not exactly fear, recognition. He knew there was more than one truth he had kept arranged by making sure the people holding pieces of it rarely compared them. "You're tearing everything open," he said. "No," I told him. "I'm answering when people ask." Evan leaned back in the chair. "What did Mom ask? Why I didn't place her grocery order? That's not what I mean. She asked why I didn't want your family at dinner." His jaw shifted. "And you told her I forced them on you. I told her I invited Lena, Calvin, and Wes. Same difference." "No, it isn't." He looked at the printed email as if the paper had interrupted us. "What else?" "She said she sent me a card in Rehab." His eyes moved away from mine. The reaction was small. If I had been crying or shouting, I might have missed it. "Did she?" he asked. "She gave it to you." I don't remember every piece of mail from 3 years ago. She remembers. I'm sure she does. Mom saves birthday candles. "Did you bring it?" "I just told you I don't remember. Did you decide I shouldn't have it?" His hand flattened on the table. "That's a serious accusation. It's a question." "No, it's a question where you've already picked the answer." "Then give me a different one." He stood and went to the refrigerator. He did not open it. For once, even the refrigerator refused to help. "You were fragile," he said. I felt the bronze medallion in my pocket, though it was upstairs on my bedside table. I was in treatment. You were crying after phone calls. You'd spend half the conversation asking what people thought of you, and then I'd spend the other half trying to convince you not to leave. I wasn't allowed to leave without signing myself out. You know what I mean? Did you keep the card? I might have. Why? Because your counselor said outside pressure could disrupt progress. My counselor told you that? The packet said it. The packet said family contact could be limited if it was harmful. It did not say hide cards from me. He rubbed both hands over his face. Fine. Maybe I made the wrong call. Where is it? I don't know. It was 3 years ago. Did you throw it away? I said, I don't know. There were times during rehab when I had waded through evening mail distribution and pretended I wasn't waiting. I had told myself Marlene was embarrassed by me. I had told myself Paige did not know what to say. I had told myself my friends came because soldiers were better with disasters than families were. A daisy card would not have repaired any of it. That was not why my hands had started shaking. You let me believe no one reached out. That's ridiculous. Your friends were there constantly, not your family. My family was taking care of me. They were taking care of you. I had a house, a business, a mother, and a wife in rehab. Yes, Mara, people were worried about me too. He heard the sentence after he said it. His shoulders dropped. I didn't mean it like that. I know. What does that mean? It means you rarely do. I picked up the printed email and held it out. Correct it. He took the page. I'll send something in the morning. Tonight. I'm exhausted. So am I. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he opened the company laptop and typed while standing at the table. A new message arrived on my phone 2 minutes later. Clarification. Mara's temporary change in availability is an internal staffing matter and should not have been characterized as relating to her personal health. We appreciate your understanding. It was stiff, bloodless, and as close to an apology as he would allow in writing. Thank you, I said. He shut the laptop. Happy? No. Of course not. He slept in our bed that night. I did too. We faced opposite walls with 3 feet of mattress between us, a distance that felt both enormous and insufficient. By morning, the password to the company email had changed. I discovered it when my phone requested sign-in credentials. I entered the old password twice, then stopped. Evan had agreed I would stay out. Locking the door after telling me to leave was unnecessary, which was probably why it hurt. A text came from him before I could decide whether to ask about it. You wanted separation. This keeps things clean. I wrote 3 replies and deleted all of them. At noon, Paige sent me the address of a diner and added, I'm buying. This is not charity. I have a coupon. I went. She was already in a booth, breaking the paper wrapper from her straw into tiny pieces. When I sat down, she slid a menu toward me. The coupon is a lie, she said. I panicked. You're terrible at crime. That's why I clean teeth. I ordered a turkey sandwich. Paige ordered pancakes, then informed the server she did not care what time pancakes were traditionally eaten. For a while, we talked about safe things. Nate's current flooring job, the weather, Marlene's belief that grocery delivery companies intentionally chose bruised bananas to punish her for not tipping in cash. Then Paige folded her hands around her coffee cup. Mom called me. I assumed she would. She thinks you and Evan are fighting because of rehab. We're fighting because Evan called my friends strangers. She says that was one word. It was a useful word. Paige nodded slowly. He told her you're letting old trauma influence current decisions. I looked at my sandwich. That's almost impressive. He didn't say you relapsed. He doesn't need to. He told his clients I stepped back for my personal health. He told clients that. He corrected it. After I insisted. She rubbed the bridge of her nose. I don't know what he's doing. Yes, you do. No, I know what it looks like. What's the difference? The difference is he's my brother. There was no accusation in it, just fact. I took a bite of my sandwich and chewed while she watched me. You don't have to turn against him, I said. I don't want to turn against anyone. That usually means everyone keeps leaning on the person least likely to make a scene. Paige gave me a tired smile. You mean you? Yes. You can make a scene, Mara. When? Not loud. You do the opposite. You get so controlled that everyone else starts feeling sloppy for having organs. I almost objected. Then I remembered counting spoons after the dinner. Paige poured more syrup onto her pancakes. You scared me after rehab, she said. Why? I didn't know what I was allowed to say. Evan said questions made you feel watched. Sometimes they did. You stopped answering my calls. You called twice. I called 6 times. I looked at her. Evan answered twice, she continued. He said you were sleeping. Once he texted from your phone that you needed space. I didn't know that. I figured you'd asked him to. I hadn't. Her fork rested against the plate. That doesn't mean he was trying to isolate you, she said quickly. You were exhausted all the time. Maybe he thought he was helping. Maybe. You say maybe like it's a threat. It's the honest answer. The server refilled our coffee. Paige thanked her and waited until she left. Mom says there was a card. Yes, I sent one too. The diner noise seemed to tilt. What? Not to Rehab. I mailed it to the house right before you came home. I didn't know where else to send it. I never saw it. It wasn't anything important. That's not the point. I know. What did it say? Paige looked embarrassed. Mostly nonsense. I told you Nate had destroyed a microwave trying to dry work gloves. That happened. It smelled like a tire fire for a month. I laughed, then put my hand over my eyes. Sorry, she said. No. It's funny. I said I missed you. I said you didn't have to call. I lowered my hand. For 3 years, I had believed Paige's first contact after rehab was a text asking whether gray quartz counters would make her kitchen look dated. Why didn't you mention it? Why would I ask why you ignored a card after everything you'd been through? That was how silence multiplied. One person protected another from embarrassment. The other mistook the silence for indifference. Evan stood between us, perhaps meaning to reduce pressure, perhaps enjoying being necessary, perhaps no longer knowing the difference. I'm sorry I stopped calling, I said. I'm sorry I let my brother explain you to me. We sat with that. Then Paige added, You were pretty unpleasant about my counters. They were fake marble with glitter. They still are. I remain unpleasant. She smiled. When we left, she hugged me in the parking lot. It was not a dramatic reconciliation. Her purse got trapped between us and the clasp caught in my sweater. Hold still, she said. You're making it worse. I work with tiny instruments all day, on teeth, not knitwear. We separated with 2 pulled threads and a promise to have lunch again. Back home, a white work van was parked at the curb. A man in a brown jacket stood on my porch. I recognized Ray Dugan, one of Evan's subcontractors. He had installed cabinets for the company for 4 years and still called me ma'am when he wanted something. Sorry to come by, he said. Evan's not answering. I'm not handling company scheduling. Yeah, he mentioned that. The way he said it made me wonder what else Evan had mentioned. What do you need? Harper measurements. The island numbers don't match the floor plan. Then don't cut anything. I haven't. Good. Evan says 48 inches. The plan says 54. I thought maybe you had the original notes. I did. They were in a labeled project folder in the dining room cabinet, exactly where I kept every original note. I'm not handling company work, I repeated. Ray shifted his weight. I get it. I just don't want to ruin a $1,200 panel. Then wait for Evan. He told me to use 48. Then why are you here? Because you usually catch this stuff. The compliment felt like a hand reaching for the same burden. I kept my arms at my sides. Call him again. Ray looked past me into the house. Everything okay? Yes. The answer came automatically. I tried again. Everything is changing. He nodded as if that made more sense. After he left, I stood in the entryway looking toward the dining room cabinet. The folder was less than 20 feet away. At 5:40, Evan texted. Did Ray bother you? I wrote. He asked about the island measurement. I told him to wait for you. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. At 6, he came through the door carrying the Harper folder. You could have answered one question, he said. You told me not to touch company work. I meant emails and calls. Ray came to our house. Because you trained everyone to come to you. I trained them not to waste material. He dropped the folder onto the table. 48 was right. Good. The plan was outdated. Then there's no problem. There's a problem when my subcontractors don't trust my numbers. I didn't tell him not to. You didn't have to. You've spent years making yourself the only competent person in the room. I looked at him. He seemed surprised by his own sentence, but he did not take it back. I walked to the dining room cabinet, opened it, and removed the row of company project folders one at a time. Harper, Kellerman, Dawson, Reed. 11 active jobs, labeled in black marker. What are you doing? I stacked them on the table beside his folder. Returning your company records. Mara, you said I made myself necessary. I was angry. You were also right. I set the last folder down. I don't know when helping became the same as disappearing, I said, but I'm done proving I love you by doing both. Evan stared at the folders. Is that supposed to be a grand gesture? No. They don't belong in my cabinet anymore. It's our cabinet. The folders are yours. He pulled out a chair and sat down as if the weight of 11 active jobs had suddenly traveled through the table into his body. You know, I can't run all of this alone. You have 3 subcontractors. They don't manage clients. Then hire someone who does. With what money? The money from the wheels. He looked at the ceiling. Please stop saying wheels. I will when they develop administrative skills. His mouth twitched. The moment disappeared before it became a smile. What do you want from me? He asked. I already told you. Pay you? Yes. That's it? 6 weeks of checks and you'll go back to normal? Normal sounded like a place he expected me to report for duty. I don't know. Then this isn't about pay. It can be about more than one thing. He dragged the folders closer and looked at the labels. You're very good at making simple things complicated. I learned from marriage. He gathered the folders in both arms. Harper slid sideways. I caught it before it fell, then stopped myself from aligning the edges. Evan noticed. He carried the stack upstairs to his office and closed the door. I remained at the table with the empty space where the folders had been. Dust outlined the bottom of each one. 11 clean rectangles marked what I had removed. I wiped the shelf. That night, Evan slept in the guest room without discussing it. He took his pillow from our bed and left the closet door open. I closed it, then opened it again because I did not want to spend the night completing his gestures. My phone vibrated at 6:30 the next morning. The message was from Calvin. You want space, you got it. Just confirm it came from you. I sat up. A second message appeared, not trying to push. Lena is ready to commit a felony involving cornbread. I called him. He answered in a whisper. Hey. What are you talking about? Evan texted us. When? Last night, group message. What did he say? Calvin hesitated. Read it. I can send a screenshot. Read it. He exhaled. After what happened Saturday, Mara needs some distance from the military chapter of her life while we focus on her well-being and our marriage. Please respect our privacy and do not contact her for now. The room seemed to narrow around the words. Our well-being? I asked. Her well-being. Of course. We didn't answer. Lena wrote 7 answers, but Wes talked her down. What did Wes say? That if we reacted, Evan would make the reaction the story. Wes had learned something from dinner. Did Evan mention strangers? No. Did he mention I asked for space? He made it sound like you did. I pushed the blanket aside. I didn't. I know that now. Why did you ask instead of assuming? Calvin was quiet for a beat. Because we learned to ask. The answer hurt. I'm sorry, I said. You have nothing to apologize for. I helped train everyone not to ask me. That's above my pay grade, Mara. You don't get paid. Exactly. I heard movement in the hallway. The guest room door opened. I have to go, I said. Call when you want. Or don't. Your decision. Evan came into the bedroom wearing yesterday's t-shirt. His hair stood up on one side. Who was that? Calvin. His face sharpened. I asked them not to call. You asked my friends not to contact me? I asked for space. For whom? For us. You used my name. Because they're your friends. You said I needed distance from the military part of my life. After Saturday, I think that's obvious. To who? He rubbed sleep from his eyes. I'm not fighting before coffee. You don't get to send a message about my well-being and then schedule the conversation around caffeine. I was trying to set a boundary. My boundary is that you do not speak for me. A husband asking people to stay out of his marriage is normal. They were not in our marriage until you texted them about it. They humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. His eyes went cold. There she is. Who? The version they get. Tough. Direct. No hesitation. With me, everything's silence and landmines. I got out of bed. What did you tell them while I was in rehab? He blinked. What? Did you ask them to give me space? That was different. So you did. You were in a clinical program. We had instructions. From whom? We've covered this. No, you keep saying packet and counselors, as if no one can check. He walked toward the door. I moved in front of it, not close enough to threaten him, close enough that leaving required acknowledging me. Did Lena call the house? I asked. I don't remember. Did Calvin? Mara? Did Paige? I was fielding calls from everybody while trying to keep a business alive. What did you tell them? What I thought was best. For me, for both of us. I felt something inside me settle, not break. Breaking would have been louder. You did it again last night. I protected our marriage. You protected your version of it. He stepped around me and went downstairs. I texted the group myself. I did not ask for distance. Evan does not speak for me. I'm not ready to talk about everything, but please don't disappear because he told you to. Lena replied first. Understood. Wes sent a thumbs up. Calvin wrote, Kayak invitation remains legally binding. No one asked me to leave. No one offered a spare room. They answered the message I had sent instead of the one they imagined beneath it. I showered and dressed for my appointment with a counselor Donna had recommended after rehab. I had seen Rachel once a month for nearly 2 years, then reduced it to every other month because I was doing well and because Evan had begun asking what there could possibly be left to discuss. Rachel's office was above an insurance agency. The waiting room had a water feature that sounded like someone urinating behind a curtain. I told her this every time. She refused to remove it. You look tired, she said after I sat down. You need better opening material. You pay me for consistency. I told her about the messages. The dinner, the card, the client email, the folders. She listened without writing much. When I finished, she asked, Do you feel unsafe at home? No. Do you feel free to make decisions? I considered it. Yes, but I'm invoiced emotionally. She smiled, then let the smile go. What happens when Evan is disappointed in you? I explain until he isn't. And if explaining doesn't work, I fix whatever caused it. And if you didn't cause it, that usually makes fixing it faster. The water feature trickled. Rachel asked, What did you think would happen if you didn't answer Mr. Harper? Evan would be angry. He was. Yes. And the world remained. Was that surprising? Annoyingly. She leaned back. What do you want your marriage to look like? I don't know. What do you want it not to look like? I pictured Evan sending my friends away from the guest room, from the rehabilitation center, from any place where they might compare what he told them to what he told me. I don't want him controlling traffic around me, I said. That's specific. He'll say he was helping. He might believe that. That doesn't make it harmless. No. I left with another appointment scheduled for the following week. When I checked my phone in the parking lot, I had 4 missed calls from Marlene and 1 from Paige. I called Marlene first. Where are you? She demanded. In my car. I was at Dr. Patel's for 40 minutes. Her appointment. Every 3rd Wednesday, 4 o'clock, routine cardiology follow-up. Evan was supposed to drive because the office parking structure made her nervous. Are you still there? No, I took a cab home. Are you okay? I'm fine. I rescheduled. Relief moved through me. First, then guilt, then the memory of telling Evan about the appointment Sunday morning while he made pancakes. Did you call Evan? 11 times. He's probably working with tools. I know he works, Mara. I closed my eyes. Did you call Paige? She was with a patient. Why didn't you call me earlier? I thought you were angry with me. I'm not angry with you. You wouldn't place the groceries. That was Evan's responsibility. So was this. Yes. The words stopped her. A car pulled into the space beside mine. I watched the driver gather fast food wrappers into a paper bag. I'm sorry you were left waiting, I said. You always put it on the calendar, I told Evan. But you didn't text him today? No. Why not? Because he's 42 years old. She sighed. I know how old my son is. I'm not trying to teach him a lesson using your appointments. It feels like it. I'm stepping back from managing the things he agrees to do. That sounds like a lesson. It's a limit. Those words may feel different to you. They do. She became quiet. I found another way home, she said eventually. I'm glad. And I told the doctor's office I will drive myself next time. I've driven in worse places than a parking garage. I smiled a little. I know, I'm not helpless. I know that too. Her voice softened. He said, you weren't doing well, did he? He said I should give you room. I gripped the steering wheel. When? This morning. Before or after missing the appointment, I wondered. What exactly did he say? That your army friends had brought up old memories, and now you were making sudden decisions. He said pressure would make it worse, the same shape over and over, concern on the outside, isolation underneath. My decisions aren't sudden, I said. They feel sudden to us, because he didn't tell you what came before them. A horn sounded somewhere in the lot. Marlene cleared her throat. I don't want to be in the middle. Then call me when you want to know something about me. She did not answer right away. All right, she said. When I got home, Evan was in the garage unloading lumber. Your mother waited 40 minutes at Dr. Patel's. He kept pulling boards toward the tailgate. I know, you know now. She called me screaming. She called you 11 times. I was running a saw. I reminded you Sunday. You usually put it on the calendar. It was on the calendar. The kitchen one. The shared one on your phone. I don't check that. That is not my fault. He shoved a board onto the workbench. No, nothing is your fault anymore. I didn't make the commitment. You always handle her appointments. I handled them because you didn't. He turned toward me. Congratulations, he said. You proved I can fail. Behind him, the second truck shone on its new chrome wheels. I looked at the lumber, the unopened messages on his phone, and the man I had spent years standing behind so no one could see what he dropped. I didn't have to prove it, I said. I just had to stop hiding it. Evan looked over his shoulder at the truck. You hate those wheels. I hate what they cost. You used to understand that appearances matter in business. I understood when our bills were paid. They are paid. Mine isn't. He picked up another board and carried it to the workbench. He could lift lumber all night if it meant he did not have to stand still inside a conversation. I'll get you the money, he said. When? When Reed pays the deposit. You haven't sent the final estimate. How would you know? You left it on the printer. His jaw tightened. I'm sending it tonight. Okay. That's all? What do you want me to say? Nothing. He shoved the board into place and knocked a metal toolbox off the bench. It hit the floor with a crash that made both of us jump. A dozen sockets rolled under the truck. Evan stared down at them. I waited for him to ask me where the magnetic parts tray was. It hung on the wall behind his left shoulder. He crouched and began gathering sockets by hand. I went inside. The temptation to help did not leave when I closed the door. It followed me through the kitchen, upstairs, and into bed. Every few minutes, metal scraped across concrete below as Evan searched beneath the truck. I put in earplugs. The next afternoon, Lena met me at a coffee shop near the hospital. She arrived in scrubs with her denim jacket over them and placed 2 drinks on the table. "I got you decaf," she said. "I didn't ask for anything. You also didn't ask me to wear pants, but friendship has standards." I removed the lid and smelled the coffee. "It has caramel in it. You need joy. It smells like a candle. Drink your candle." She sat across from me and twisted one silver hoop in her ear. "I want to apologize properly," she said. "You already apologized." "I acknowledged misconduct. That's different. You sound like hospital administration." "I accept your insult." I waited. "At dinner, I made your rehab about my anger at Evan," she said. "It wasn't mine to expose. He called you strangers." "I know. You were there." "I know that too." I looked down at the foam collecting around the edge of my cup. "Did he ever ask you not to visit me?" I asked. Lena's hand stopped at her earring. "Not exactly. That's not an answer. He called after our second visit, said you were exhausted afterward and we should coordinate through him. Did you?" "For about a week." "Then Calvin called the center directly, and you told him you wanted us there." I remembered that call. Calvin had asked 3 separate times whether I was sure, until I accused him of trying to avoid the drive. "What did Evan say when you kept coming? That we were interfering with family work." "What family work?" "Sessions, marriage repair, your transition plan." He used phrases from the brochure. I leaned back. "Why didn't you tell me? You were trying to stay alive." "I wasn't dying. You know what I mean. I'm starting to dislike that sentence." She nodded. "Fair." The espresso machine hissed behind the counter. Lena rubbed both hands over her face. Also, I didn't trust my motives. I already disliked him. Why? He made every decent thing he did sound difficult. That's specific. He'd call and tell me he'd spent all morning cleaning the house for you. Then I'd come over and find your laundry done, his on the bedroom floor, and a list of things he needed you to remember. You never said anything. You loved him. I still love him. Lena met my eyes. I know. The lack of argument almost undid me. I drank the coffee. It tasted like melted candy and regret. "He lost track of his mother's appointment yesterday," I said. "Is she okay?" "Yes." She took a cab. "And you're blaming yourself," I usually remind him. "Is that why you joined the Army? To keep a contractor's calendar?" "I joined because college was expensive and a recruiter lied about how much camping was involved." She smiled. "Calvin and Wes want to know if they can talk to you," she said. "They can. They're afraid to make things worse. They're not making it worse. Should I tell them that?" "No, I will." I sent both men a message before leaving the coffee shop. Wes answered that evening with a photograph of the sweatshirt he had brought me on family weekend. He still had it because I had returned it after wearing it home. "You said it looked like something a divorced gym teacher would own," he wrote. It did. "That sweatshirt has character. It has paint on it. Character." Calvin called from Ohio and spent 20 minutes describing a hawk he had seen beside the highway before asking a single question about Evan. He did not ask whether I was leaving. He asked whether I was sleeping. "Some," I said. "Eating?" "Yes." "Pills?" "As prescribed." "Okay, you can ask more. I will when you have answers." The call ended with him sending me 3 kayak listings I did not open. Evan came home late. He carried a paper bag from a Thai restaurant and set it on the counter. "Peace offering," he said. "You're repeating material." The pancakes worked for almost a minute. He unpacked 2 cartons and a container of spring rolls. My order was right, including extra lime. Thank you. We ate at the kitchen counter because the dining table was covered in tape measures, a drill case, 2 stacks of invoices, and an open box of cabinet hinges. None of those things had been there that morning. "How's your mom?" I asked, still furious. "At you, at everyone. She likes variety. Did you apologize?" I picked up her prescription and programmed the appointments into my phone. That wasn't the question. "Yes, I apologized." He pushed the spring rolls toward me. "I lost the Reed job," he said. I stopped chewing. "What happened?" "The measurements were wrong." "Which ones?" "The long wall." I pictured the folder, A pencil sketch, field notes, 2 revisions after the Reeds removed a pantry. How wrong? 6 inches. That's not a rounding error. I know that. Did you measure again? After I sent the estimate, the entire run of cabinets would have been priced against the wrong length. The correction would affect materials, labor, countertops, and schedule. What did they say? That if the final numbers changed that much before work started, they didn't trust what would happen after demolition. I'm sorry. He watched my face as if looking for satisfaction. I really am, I said. Are you? Yes, because this is what you wanted. No, you wanted me to see what you did. I wanted you to see that I did it. Same result. It isn't. He looked toward the dining room. You always checked field measurements against the plans. Yes, you could have checked Reed. You told me to stay out. I know what I said. Then why are you angry with me? Because you knew I would miss something. I put my fork down. That's why I was checking. He rubbed his eyes. It was a $40,000 job. I know. Profit from Reed would have covered what we owe you. Then you should have measured the wall twice. His chair scraped back. You have no idea what it's like to do everything. The sentence hung between us. I looked at the company equipment on the dining table, the client folders upstairs, the phone in his hand, and the man who had spent years calling my work hours until it disappeared. I have some idea, I said. He stood and carried his carton to the trash. This time, he stopped before dumping it. He put the lid on and placed it in the refrigerator. Growth came in strange forms. The following morning, the drill case remained on the dining table. I moved my placemat to the far end and ate breakfast beside it. Evan left without taking the case. At 10, he texted, "Can you bring the drill to Dawson? Need it ASAP." I answered, "I have an appointment." "What appointment?" "Counseling." 3 dots appeared immediately. "Can go another time?" "Crew is waiting." "No." He called. I let it ring once before answering. "Mara, this isn't office work. It's delivering your tools. We have 1 working truck today. You have 2. The second is getting aligned." "Because of the new wheels? Can we not? I'm leaving in 20 minutes. Dawson is 10 minutes from Rachel's office. I'm not making company deliveries." He lowered his voice. "Everyone is standing around waiting because you need to prove a point. Why is the drill here? I brought it home. Why didn't you take it this morning?" "I forgot." "That is not something I did." A man spoke in the background. Evan covered the phone and answered him. When he came back, his voice was flat. "Forget it. You already did." I regretted the line as soon as I said it. He hung up. I went to counseling and spent the first 10 minutes telling Rachel why the joke had been unnecessarily cruel. "You're allowed to be angry," she said. "Anger isn't permission to become precise about someone's weakest point. No. But regret isn't the same as responsibility for solving his morning." We spent the rest of the hour discussing practical things. My pay. Household expenses. What I would need if I decided to spend a few nights elsewhere. I told her I was not planning to leave. She said, "Planning does not obligate you." That sounded military enough to be irritating. On the way home, Paige called. "Mom wants to have a cookout Sunday," she said. "Why?" "Because cooking meat outdoors will apparently heal the family. Has she tried therapy? She says smoke is cheaper." I almost declined. Then Paige added, "Evan already said you're coming." Of course he had. What did he tell her about Reed? That your anxiety has made you pull away from the business at a difficult time? My hand tightened around the steering wheel. He said that to your mother? And me. Nate told him blaming you for his measurements was pathetic. I pictured quiet Nate saying it, probably without raising his voice. How did Evan take that? He asked for his laser level back. Does Nate have it? No. Evan borrowed Nate's and lost it 6 months ago. I laughed before I could help it. Paige did too. Then she said, "Come Sunday. Don't come for Evan. Come because Mom needs to hear you without him translating." I drove another block before answering. All right. When I told Evan that evening, he looked relieved. Good. Mom's worried. About my health? He frowned. Don't start. I'm asking what you told her. I said we're under stress. You said my anxiety made me stop working. Paige shouldn't repeat private conversations. You shouldn't use my health to explain your mistakes. He looked past me at the drill case still on the table. Can we please get through one family meal without another ambush? Yes. His shoulders eased. Then I added, don't lie about me. The relief left his face. That sounds like a threat. It's a request. No, Mara. He lifted the drill case. You've already picked the answer. The drill case left with him the next morning. The invoices did not. They stayed on the dining table until Friday, gathering a coffee ring and a fine layer of sawdust. I moved my placemat again. Evan did not ask me to sort them, and I did not offer. Sunday afternoon, we drove separately to Marlene's house. Evan said it was unnecessary to take 2 cars. I said I had errands afterward. Neither of us named the usefulness of separate exits. Marlene had arranged 6 lawn chairs around a round patio table and covered it with a vinyl cloth printed with lemons. The cloth snapped in the wind, lifting paper plates at the edges. Nate stood at the grill wearing an apron that said, "Licensed to grill," though he looked deeply unlicensed. "I've lost control of the chicken," he announced. "It's dead," Paige told him. "You have more control than it does. That's exactly the kind of confidence that leads to food poisoning." Evan went directly to the grill. "You're cooking it too hot." Nate handed him the tongs. "Great, you're in charge." I didn't say licensed personnel only. Nate walked away before Evan could return the tongs. Marlene came through the back door carrying a bowl of potato salad. "You came," she said to me. "You invited me." I wasn't sure. She set the bowl down and hugged me. Marlene normally hugged from the shoulders, leaving both hips safely behind. This time she pressed against me fully and smelled like rose lotion and charcoal smoke. "I drove myself to the market yesterday," she said when she released me. "How was the parking lot?" "Lawless, but you survived." "Barely." A man in a red sedan had no respect for arrows. She sounded proud. Paige brought out iced tea and lemonade. Nate adjusted the umbrella. Evan turned the chicken as if he had been asked to save it under battlefield conditions. For the first half hour, everyone behaved beautifully. That should have warned me. Marlene asked about the weather. Paige described a patient who claimed flossing created gaps between teeth. Nate told us the laser level had been discovered in Evan's second truck beneath a moving blanket. "I said I'd return it," Evan said. "You said you didn't have it," Nate replied. "I forgot it was there." Nate took a drink of lemonade. "Things do keep happening around you." Paige kicked his shoe beneath the table, not hard enough to stop him, just enough to say she had witnessed the sentence. Evan smiled without showing teeth. "The chicken's ready." It was not. The thickest piece was pink near the bone, which Marlene discovered after one bite. "I like my chicken cooked," she said. "It is cooked," Evan replied. "It's making eye contact with me." Nate took the platter back to the grill. The laughter that followed was genuine, including Evan's. He kissed his mother's head and told her she was dramatic. She swatted him with a napkin. Watching them, I remembered why leaving a marriage was not the same as identifying a villain. Evan could be tender. He replaced Marlene's furnace filter without being asked. He called Paige every year on the anniversary of their father's death, never mentioning why. When my shoulder locked during a snowstorm 2 winters earlier, he sat on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m. and rubbed the muscles around my scar until I could stand. He also hid cards and called concern privacy. Both things fit inside the same man. We ate when the chicken was no longer a threat. Marlene sat beside me. Twice she seemed about to say something, then asked for salt instead. Evan discussed the Reed job without naming it. He told Nate that homeowners had become unrealistic and expected contractors to predict every hidden variable. "A wall isn't hidden," Nate said. "The framing can be. The length usually isn't." Paige kicked him again. "What?" he asked. "My shins are not a communication system." Evan put down his fork. Mara had always reviewed the paperwork, he said. She stepped away without much warning. Every head at the table shifted slightly toward me. "I gave 6 weeks warning," I said. "What does that mean?" Marlene asked. "My pay was deferred for 6 weeks. Evan's voice tightened. We agreed. We agreed I would wait. We didn't agree I would work indefinitely without being paid. It's a family business. Evan owns it, I said, because one of us has to be listed. That isn't why. What are you implying?" "Nothing. I'm clarifying." Marlene folded her napkin. "I thought Mara was taking time off for her health." "She is," Evan said. "No, I'm not." His head turned toward me. "You're seeing a counselor every week." "I'm seeing a counselor because our marriage is in trouble." Paige stared at her plate. Nate stopped moving altogether. Evan gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "Can we not discuss private details over potato salad? You introduced my health." I answered Mom. "You answered for me." Marlene raised one hand. "I asked the wrong question." "No," I said. "You asked me." Evan answered. He leaned back in his lawn chair. The aluminum legs sank slightly into the grass. "This is what it's like now," he said. "Every word becomes a trial. I asked you not to lie about me. I'm not lying. You're struggling. I'm angry. Those can coexist. Why do you need my anger to be a symptom?" His face flushed. Paige murmured, "Mara." I looked at her. She did not tell me to stop. Her eyes moved toward Marlene. Evan followed the glance. "Everyone is walking on eggshells around you," he said. "No one else has said that. Because they're afraid of setting you off." Nate looked down at his unmarked shins. Marlene picked up her water glass, then set it down without drinking. "I'm not afraid of her," she said. Evan's expression softened into patience. "Mom, you called me because she upset you over groceries. I called because I didn't understand." And I explained. "Yes," Marlene said. "You do." Something in her voice made him pause. She turned to me. "Did you want us to visit you at that place?" Evan started to speak. Marlene held up her hand again. This time, the gesture was for him. I answered, "Yes." "Did you say you didn't want cards?" "No." "Did your counselor tell Evan we should stay away?" "Not that I know of. She encouraged healthy support." Evan's chair creaked. "You don't remember half those conversations," he said. "You were medicated and unstable. I remember asking whether your mother had called. You also accused nurses of moving your things. They moved my shampoo because it had alcohol listed in the ingredients. You thought everyone was controlling you. I was in a locked treatment facility. Some things were controlled." Marlene looked at him. "Did you have my card? I told Mara I don't remember. But you remember she was unstable. I remember the important parts." The words fell badly. Evan heard it. He leaned forward, forearms on the table. I was trying to keep her alive. I felt the entire afternoon become still. He looked at Paige and Marlene now, not me. You didn't see her before she went in. She wasn't sleeping. She could barely function. I found pills in coat pockets, in the bathroom, in her car. I was the one here. I was the one she screamed at. I was the one who convinced her to get help. "That isn't true," I said. "I drove you there. I signed myself in. After I spent months begging you, you spent months asking if I had taken anything whenever I disagreed with you, because sometimes you had." "Yes." The admission cut through him. He had expected denial. "I hid pills," I said. "I lied about how many I took. I scared you. Once I took more than I intended, and I woke up on the bathroom floor. You found me." Marlene covered her mouth. I had never told her that part. "I'm sorry you lived through it," I told Evan. "I'm sorry I made you question what was real. But you did not sign me into rehab. You did not attend the first family session. Or the second. You came twice. I called. You called when it suited you. I was running everything by myself. Lena worked nights and drove 4 hours. Calvin used vacation days. Wes came on a leg that still hurt because I had once helped keep it attached to him. They didn't save me. I did the work. They just showed up while I did it." Evan's face had gone pale beneath the flush. "So that's it," he said. "They're heroes. I'm the villain." "No, because that's the story you've chosen. I'm telling what happened. You left out what I endured. I just admitted it. You admitted enough to make yourself look brave." I stared at him. There was no safe arrangement of words. If I took responsibility, I was performing courage. If I named what he did, I was attacking. If I stayed silent, his version became family history. I was not brave, I said. I was ashamed and sick and furious. I wanted people to believe I was fine so I could keep doing what was hurting me. I hurt my husband. Then I got help. All of that is true. No one moved. What isn't true, I continued, is that he carried me through recovery. He liked people thinking he did. Evan stood so fast his chair tipped backward. Mara. They showed up as family, Marlene said. Her voice was quiet, but it stopped him. She looked at her son with tears standing in her eyes. You just liked the title. Evan stared at her. For 1 second, he looked less angry than wounded. Not the shallow wound of embarrassment, something older. Then he stepped over the fallen chair and walked toward the side gate. Evan, Paige called. He did not turn. The gate slammed. A moment later, his truck started in the driveway. No one spoke until the engine faded. Nate picked up the fallen chair. One leg had punched through the lemon tablecloth and torn it from edge to center. Marlene touched the rip. Well, she said, that seems appropriate. A laugh broke out of me before I could stop it. Paige made a strangled sound that became laughter, too. Nate sat down and covered his face. Marlene did not laugh. I'm sorry, I said. For what? The tablecloth. It was $12. No, for telling you like that. She smoothed the torn vinyl. I asked. You didn't know what you were asking. Neither did you when you asked if I called. Her eyes met mine. I should have called the facility myself. He said I didn't want you to. I'm 68 years old. I know how telephones work. He made it sound reasonable. So did I. To myself. She reached across the table and took my hand. I'm sorry I believed the easiest person to ask. I squeezed her fingers. Paige began stacking plates. Nate carried the chicken inside. Ordinary motion returned because ordinary motion always returned. My phone buzzed on the table. Evan had sent one message. You got what you wanted. I read it twice. Paige looked at my face. What? I turned the phone over. Nothing I can answer here. You don't have to go home, she said. I know. The knowledge was new. I helped Marlene scrape plates and fold the torn tablecloth around itself. Then I carried the trash to the side yard. My car waited at the curb exactly where I had left it. Separate exit. I sat behind the wheel, locked the doors, and searched for a hotel before I could explain myself out of needing one. The first hotel I called was full. The second wanted more for one night than I had spent on groceries the previous week. The third had a room beside the interstate, free breakfast, and an indoor pool I had no intention of using. I booked it. At the front desk, a young clerk with purple glasses asked whether I preferred the first or third floor. Second, I said. She glanced at the screen. We do have an elevator. Second floor. It was high enough that someone could not easily reach the window and low enough that I could use the stairs if the alarm went off. I still made decisions like that without deciding. The room had beige curtains, a painting of a sailboat, and an air conditioner that coughed every time it started. I checked the bathroom, the closet, the lock, and the evacuation map. Then I sat on the end of the bed with my purse still over my shoulder. I had no toothbrush, no clean clothes, no medication for morning. I had left my own house as if stepping outside to bring in the mail. My phone showed 7 messages from Evan. The first 3 were angry. You had no right to do that in front of my family. Mom isn't answering me. I hope you're satisfied. The next 2 changed tone. Where are you? Please tell me you're safe. Then, I'm sorry. Come home and we'll talk. The last message arrived while I read the others. Your car isn't at Lena's. I called him. He answered before the first full ring. Where are you? At a hotel. Which one? I'm safe. That isn't what I asked. It's what you need to know. He exhaled so hard it distorted the call. Are you coming home? Not tonight. Mara, this is insane. I looked at the sailboat. It was painted on an ocean with no waves. Don't call me insane. I didn't call you insane, I said. Leaving for a hotel is. Then choose a different word. You humiliated me in front of my mother and walked away. You drove away first. I was angry. So was I. I went home. Good. A cabinet door shut on his end. What do you want me to do? He asked. Nothing tonight. Great. More rules. I need sleep. We can sleep in separate rooms. I don't want to be in the house with you tonight. Silence. The air conditioner coughed and began rattling. Are you afraid of me? He asked. No. That answer seemed to hurt him more. I need space where you can't explain me to myself, I said. That doesn't even mean anything. It does to me. Did Paige tell you to leave? No. Lena? No. So this is just you? Yes. He had no reply. I'll come by in the morning for clothes and medication, I said. I'll leave. You don't need to. I don't want another scene. Neither do I. He hung up without saying goodnight. I went to the convenience store in the lobby and paid $6 for a toothbrush that could have cleaned grout. I bought a t-shirt with the hotel's logo because the alternative was sleeping in my bra. The clerk with purple glasses did not comment. Back in the room, I lined my shoes beneath the desk and set my phone, keys, wallet, and room card beside the lamp. Then I laughed. I had no spare clothes and had still established an equipment layout. The laugh turned into crying so quickly that I did not recognize the transition. I cried for the blue chair, Marlene's card, Paige's microwave story, the Reed wall, and the way Evan had asked whether I was afraid, as if fear were the only acceptable reason to leave him. I cried because I loved him. I cried because love had become evidence I used against myself. No one came to fix it. Eventually, I washed my face with hotel soap and slept. The next morning, I drove home before 8. Evan's truck was in the driveway. He had said he would leave. I had said he did not need to. Apparently, we were both obeying the least useful sentence. He sat at the kitchen table with 2 coffees. The company invoices were stacked neatly beside him. My payroll envelope remained near the fruit bowl. I got decaf, he said. I need my medication. Of course. I went upstairs. My bronze medallion waited on the bedside table. I put it in my pocket, packed my prescription bottles, underwear, jeans, shirts, shoulder brace, and heating pad. When I carried the bag downstairs, Evan stood. How long are you going to be gone? I don't know. Did you take everything? No, I meant medication. Yes. He nodded. The carefulness between us felt worse than shouting. I spoke to Mom, he said. How is she? Disappointed. In you, in the whole situation. That sounds diplomatic. She used different words. I put my bag by the door. Evan wrapped both hands around his coffee cup. I shouldn't have said I saved you. No, I know you did the work. Do you? Yes. Then why have you spent 3 years telling people you got me help? Because I did. You drove me. I found you on the bathroom floor. His voice broke on the last word. I sat across from him. For several seconds, neither of us moved. I thought you were dead, he said. You were cold and I couldn't wake you up. I kept saying your name. I slapped your face. Then you opened your eyes and got angry at me. I remember. You said you were tired. I lied. I know. The refrigerator hummed. He stared into his coffee. When you signed the forms, everybody praised you. The intake nurse said you were brave. Your friends said you'd made the right call. Nobody looked at me. You wanted praise? I wanted someone to understand that I had been living with it. I understand that. Now you do. No, I understood then. I was too ashamed to say it. He rubbed his thumb against the rim of the cup. I went home to an empty house, he said. There were pill bottles in drawers. You had schedules taped everywhere. Notes for me about the furnace, the insurance, Mom's appointments, even gone. You were running everything. Why did that make you stay away? Because every time I visited, you looked at me like I was another thing you had failed. I looked at everyone that way. Not them, my friends. You let them see you weak." I stared at him. He gave a helpless shrug. "With me, you kept apologizing, or you got angry. They could sit there and make jokes, and you laughed. Lena knew what to bring you. Calvin knew when to shut up. Wes gave you that stupid sweatshirt, and you wore it home. You were there when I came home, but you were wearing his sweatshirt. The detail was so petty and so painfully human that it took my anger apart for a moment. You were jealous of a sweatshirt? I was jealous of all of them. Why? Because they knew you before me. They knew the version of you that could handle anything. Then they saw you in rehab, and they still looked at you the same. I didn't think they did. They did. And you didn't?" He looked at me. "I was scared," he said. "If you got better without me, I didn't know what I was for." A car passed outside. Tires hissed on damp pavement. He continued before I could answer. "You had counselors, meetings, military friends who understood you. You came home with rules about medication and boundaries and communication. I thought you'd realize I wasn't necessary. So you made yourself necessary. I tried to protect you. You controlled who could reach me. I filtered things. You hid cards. I didn't think they mattered. They mattered because they weren't yours to decide. I know that now. Do you?" "Yes." He leaned forward. "I'm telling you the truth. I believe you." Relief crossed his face. I hated what I had to say next. Understanding why you did it doesn't make it harmless. His relief faded. What else can I do but admit it? You can stop doing it. I sent one message. You told my friends I needed space. You told your mother my decisions were anxiety. You told clients I stepped back from my health. You did it this week. I was scared again. You don't get to reduce my world every time you're afraid I might leave it. He pushed away from the table and stood. "So you are leaving. I'm taking time. How much? I don't know. Where? The hotel for now? That's ridiculous. Stay with Lena if you need to make a statement. This isn't a statement, and I don't need Lena to house me. Then stay here. I'll use the guest room. I need to know what it feels like when I'm not managing your reaction." His face tightened. "I just told you something I've never told anyone." "I know. And you're walking out anyway." "Yes." "That's cold." "No. Cold would be pretending it fixed everything because your confession was difficult." He stared at me. I picked up my bag. At the door, he said, "I'll do counseling." I turned. He looked frightened now, not performative. That made it harder. "Okay." "Okay, you'll come home?" "No." "Okay, we can schedule counseling." His laugh was bitter. "More conditions." "No." "A next step. And if I do it, it isn't a transaction. Everything with you is a rule now, because every request became optional." I left before he could answer. At the hotel, I extended my stay through Friday. The purple glasses clerk gave me a weekly rate and a toothbrush from the front desk supply closet for free. "You should have asked last night," she said. "I'm learning." I worked through practical tasks because practical tasks did not ask whether I still loved my husband. I listed my monthly expenses. I contacted payroll services and removed myself as the routine company contact. I searched rental listings within 15 minutes of my recovery meeting and 20 minutes of Rachel's office. The first duplex smelled like cigarettes beneath fresh paint. The second had a refrigerator in the living room. Temporary, the property manager promised. Temporary since when? She did not answer. The third was small, clean, and half of an old brick house. The living room floor sloped toward the front window. The kitchen had green cabinets and a narrow strip of counter beside the stove. Upstairs, the bedroom faced a maple tree. I checked the locks. I checked the smoke detectors. I checked the route to the stairs. The owner, a woman named Judith with a measuring tape clipped to her belt, watched me inspect the back door. "Former military?" she asked. "Yes." "My sister does the same thing." "What branch?" "Accountant." I laughed. Judith smiled. "Available next month. 1-year lease." A year felt enormous. It also felt measurable. I took the application. That evening, Evan texted me the time of a marriage counselor's first available appointment. I replied that I would be there. Then I set the duplex application beside my bronze medallion on the hotel desk. Both were true. I could try to hear him. I could also prepare a place where hearing him would not require disappearing. The marriage counselor's waiting room had 2 identical gray chairs, separated by a table no wider than a dinner plate. Evan sat in one. I sat in the other. Between us lay a box of tissues and a magazine about coastal living. "This feels promising," he said. "What does?" "Strategic tissue placement." I smiled despite myself. Dr. Dana Wu opened the office door exactly at 2. She was compact, calm, and wore green boots beneath black slacks. "Mara and Evan?" "No," Evan said. "We're the other married couple sitting in formation." Dana looked at him. He stood. "Sorry." Nervous joke. I assumed. Her office contained a couch and 2 armchairs. Evan waited to see where I went. I chose the couch. He sat beside me, leaving more space than necessary. Dana asked why we were there. Evan said, "My wife left home after a family argument." I said, "My husband repeatedly told other people I was unstable when I disagreed with him." Dana's eyes moved between us. "We might need a larger whiteboard," she said. Evan laughed. I did not, which made him stop. He told the story first. He described my addiction, rehab, the anniversary dinner, his business problems, and the cookout. He admitted using the word strangers had been insensitive. He said my friends were important to me, but did not understand the strain our marriage had survived. He described my withdrawal from the company as abrupt. He did not technically lie. That was what made his version powerful. Every fact arrived trimmed to fit the space he wanted it to occupy. When it was my turn, I filled in what had been cut away. 6 weeks without pay, 2 visits in 12 weeks, cards withheld, messages sent in my name, the client email about my health, the folders returned after he told me to stay out. Evan shifted beside me. "I acknowledged all of that," he said. "You acknowledged it to me. Then you described the same events differently to her." I was giving context. So was I. Dana held up one hand. "What are you each hoping will happen?" she asked. "That Mara comes home," Evan said. Dana looked at me. "I want to know whether home can be different." "That's the same thing," Evan said. "No," Dana replied. "It isn't." He leaned back. Dana asked what different meant. I said I wanted Evan to stop making decisions about my relationships and presenting them as concern. I wanted direct communication with his family, not information routed through him. I wanted my work recognized as work. I wanted him to be responsible for the things he agreed to handle. "I can do that," he said. "You said you could manage the company too." That was anger. Which statement? He stared at me. Dana asked him why my question bothered him. "Because everything I say becomes a test." "It becomes a test when the answer changes," I said. The session ended with no breakthrough. Dana gave us one task. Before the next appointment, each of us had to write down what we were personally willing to change, without listing anything the other person had to do first. Evan called it homework in the parking lot. "It is homework," I said. "I hated school. I've seen your estimates." He laughed. For a moment, standing between our separate cars, I missed him with such force that I nearly reached for his hand. He looked at me as if he felt it too. "You could come home tonight," he said. The missing grew smaller. "I'll see you next week." His face closed. I returned to the hotel and completed the duplex application. Judith approved it 2 days later. I did not tell Evan by text. I told him at our second counseling session, after he read his list aloud. He was willing to apologize directly to Lena, Calvin, and Wes. He was willing to hire administrative help when the company could afford it. He was willing to manage his mother's commitments or tell her honestly when he could not. He was willing to stop discussing my recovery with clients or relatives unless I gave permission. It was a good list. Mine said I was willing to speak before resentment turned into silence. I was willing to listen without treating every mistake as proof of a pattern. I was willing to acknowledge the harm my addiction had done without allowing that harm to excuse everything that followed. Then I said I had signed a lease. Evan folded his list in half. You already decided. I decided I need somewhere to live. You have somewhere. I have a house where every disagreement becomes a reason to question my judgment. So counseling was what? A courtesy? No. You signed a 1-year lease. Yes. Then there's no reason for me to be here, Dana asked. Did you come only to get Mara back into the house? I came to save my marriage. Mara is still in the marriage. She moved out. I'm moving out, I corrected. Next month. He turned to me. Do you hear yourself? Yes. You're planning a year without me while asking me to work on us. I'm planning a year with a door I control. That's dramatic. It has a standard deadbolt. Dana pressed her lips together. I suspected she was hiding a smile. Evan did not. He left before the session ended. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes afterward, waiting for my hands to stop trembling. Signing the lease had felt calm. Telling him felt like firing a weapon inside a small room. He came to the third appointment. He did not apologize for walking out. He sat in the armchair instead of beside me and spent 10 minutes describing how the Reed loss had forced him to delay another project. Then Dana asked whether he had hired office help. I can't afford it. Can you afford not to? He glanced at me. Apparently not. He had brought an envelope containing 2 weeks of my deferred pay. He placed it on the table between us. I'll get the rest next month, he said. Thank you. I don't want you thinking I'm trying to buy you back. I don't. That seemed to disappoint him, too. The weeks before the duplex became available were the strangest of our marriage. I stayed at the hotel, then moved to a furnished monthly rental because the interstate air conditioner began appearing in my dreams. I went to the house after Evan left for work and packed one section at a time. Clothes first, books, the kitchen things I had owned before we married, my father's old radio, the white mixing bowl with a crack near the base, half the towels because taking all the good towels felt vindictive, and taking only the worn ones felt like volunteering for punishment. I labeled every box. Evan accused me of treating the move like deployment. Deployments have return dates, I said. He looked away. He began managing Marlene's grocery orders. The first week, he allowed substitutions, and she received caffeinated tea, chunky peanut butter, and 6 yellow onions she had not requested. She called him, not me. The second order was correct. Paige stopped asking either of us what the other one meant. She called me for me. She called Evan for Evan. It should not have felt revolutionary. Nate retrieved his laser level personally. The company hired a part-time office assistant named Gwen, who worked 3 mornings a week and refused to answer messages after 1. Evan complained that she had no flexibility. She has boundaries, I said. She has another job. Same result. He did not appreciate that. Mrs. Kellerman hired another contractor to repair her stair rail after Evan missed 2 appointments. Harper kept his project, but delayed the cabinet phase until Ray verified every measurement. The company did not collapse. It became smaller, slower, and more accurately shaped like Evan's actual capacity. I did not enjoy watching it. Some nights I lay awake wanting to call and tell him where the Dawson hinge order had been filed. I had to remind myself that discomfort was not danger. A late hinge was not a casualty. A missed email was not blood loss. I did not have to throw my body over every problem just because I could see it coming. Evan apologized to my friends by text. Lena sent me his message without commentary. It said he had been wrong to call them strangers and wrong to contact them on my behalf. It thanked them for supporting me during treatment. It did not mention the blue chair. It did not need to. Calvin replied, "Thank you for saying that." Wes replied with the same words. Lena waited a day, then wrote, "I accept your apology. I won't discuss Mara with you without her permission. Evan showed me that reply at counseling." "See," he said, "she still thinks I'm dangerous." "No." She stated a boundary. Everyone has boundaries now. Dana said, "You sound lonely." He looked down at his hands. I am. I wanted to move toward him. I stayed where I was. While packing the bathroom, I found an old canvas toiletry bag behind a stack of heating pads. It had gone with me to rehab and returned smelling like institutional detergent. Inside the side pocket was a plain white envelope. I knew what it held before I opened it. 4 adhesive visitor badges folded onto themselves so the sticky backs would not catch. 2 bore Lena Ortiz's name on different dates. 1 said Calvin Brooks. 1 said Wesley Hanley. Visitors were supposed to discard them when they left. Lena had stuck hers to my notebook because she forgot. Calvin had handed me his when the adhesive pulled fuzz from his sweater. Wes's had fallen beneath the blue chair, and I had picked it up after he left. I had saved them without knowing why. The ink had faded. The dates had not. I sat on the bathroom floor with the badges in my lap. Evan came home early and found me there. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "What are those?" he asked. I showed him. He read the names. His face changed, but he did not defend himself. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know." He sat in the doorway, leaving space between us. "I keep thinking if I say it the right way, you'll believe I mean it. I believe you mean it. That doesn't seem to help. It helps. It doesn't erase." He nodded. After a while, he asked, "Do you want me to carry boxes Saturday?" "No." He swallowed. Then I said, "You can bring the books downstairs. My shoulder's been bad." He looked at me carefully. "Okay." Saturday, Evan carried 9 boxes of books to my car without complaining about the labels. He did not ask for the duplex address. He did not arrange the boxes differently from how I directed. At the last one, he leaned against the open trunk. "I do love you," he said. "I know. I was terrible at it. You were good at parts. That might be worse." "Yes." He closed the trunk gently. The duplex keys were cold in my palm when Judith handed them over. I moved in without an audience. Lena offered a truck. Calvin offered to drive from Ohio. Wes offered a hand and specified that the bad leg still functioned. I thanked them and hired 2 movers. They arrived late, scratched the stair rail, and argued about whether my desk would fit through the bedroom door. It did, after they removed the legs. By evening, boxes lined the sloping living room floor. The green kitchen cabinets were empty. My shoulder ached. I had forgotten to buy toilet paper. The place was imperfect, inconvenient, and mine. I set the bronze medallion and the envelope of visitor badges on the narrow strip of counter beside the stove. Then I locked the front door from the inside. Then I realized the toilet paper was still in a box marked bathroom linens, which was beneath 3 boxes of books. I considered digging it out. I put my coat back on and walked to the corner store. The clerk sold me toilet paper, coffee, dish soap, and a frozen pizza. He put everything into one thin plastic bag that stretched alarmingly around the pizza box. "Moving?" he asked. "What gave it away?" "The toilet paper." Back at the duplex, I ate the pizza from a paper towel while sitting on the floor. I had no television connected, no curtains on the front window, and no idea which box held the silverware. The refrigerator hummed normally. I noticed because Evan's refrigerator never had. I slept badly. Every car door outside woke me. The maple tree scraped the bedroom window, and the radiator knocked at 2 in the morning like someone trapped inside the wall. At 5:40, I reached across the bed toward where Evan had slept for 11 years. My hand found cold sheets. I lay there with my arm extended until my shoulder began to hurt. Then I drew it back, counted from 60, and got up. There were no keys in the bowl because I had not unpacked the bowl. There was no yellow legal pad on the table, no drill case, no client message blinking on the machine. The quiet I had wanted felt less like peace than the absence of incoming fire. My body did not trust it yet. I made coffee and took my medication standing beside the green cabinets. The medallion waited on the counter. So did the badges. I put them both into a drawer until I was ready to see them. Lena visited after work carrying a shower curtain and a bag of tools. "I thought you weren't helping me move," I said. "I'm not. Moving is complete. This is a diplomatic inspection. You brought a drill." for diplomacy. She installed the curtain rod crooked. I did not fix it until she left. Calvin drove from Ohio 2 weekends later. He brought binoculars and insisted the maple tree attracted migratory birds. We sat on the back step for an hour and saw 3 pigeons in a plastic bag. "Rare urban jellyfish," he said. Wes came separately and helped me attach the legs to my desk. He refused to let me lift one end because of my shoulder. "I know how to carry a desk," I said. "I know how you ask for help. I asked you to come. You said, 'I have a desk situation if you're around.' That's not asking. That's issuing a weather advisory." I let him carry the heavier end. Asking did not become easier because I had changed addresses. Neither did resting. I still caught myself reaching for my phone when I remembered one of Evan's deadlines. Once, I woke at midnight certain the cabinet supplier had not been paid. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, and let the problem remain someone else's until morning. Nothing happened to me. The company survived too. Gwen increased her hours after negotiating a raise Evan said he could not afford. She reorganized the client calendar, required written change orders, and banned him from promising start dates without checking with her. He complained about her at counseling. Dana said, "She sounds effective. She's bossy." I said, "She sounds effective." He did not laugh. He sold the second truck before winter. The chrome wheels left our old driveway shining beneath a landscaper's logo. With part of the money, he paid the remaining 4 weeks he owed me. The envelope arrived by certified mail even though he could have brought it to counseling. I deposited the checks. I did not call to thank him for paying a debt. Marlene learned to manage her own grocery account. She still called me when the website tried to substitute items, but she called to complain, not to hand me the problem. "They replaced my chamomile with peppermint," she announced one evening. "Did you reject it?" I did. "Then you handled it. I don't like the tone of that button. Neither do I." She began driving herself to appointments. The first time she entered Dr. Patel's parking garage alone. She called me from the driver's seat afterward. "It was fine," she said. "I knew it would be. You could sound more impressed." "I'm impressed." "That was not your impressed voice." I tried again. She accepted the second version. Paige and I continued lunch. Sometimes we talked about Evan. Mostly we did not. She replaced the glitter counters with plain gray quartz and refused to admit I had been right. Nate found new ways to insult his brother without raising his voice. Evan found new ways to be offended. Their relationship survived. Mine changed more slowly. Evan attended every counseling appointment for 4 months. He learned to wait until I finished speaking. He stopped calling my boundaries rules, at least in Dana's office. He apologized without adding, but more often than before. Once after I told him I'd gone to dinner with Lena and Wes, he asked whether we had discussed him. "Yes," I said. His face tightened. Then he nodded. "You're allowed." "I know. I'm trying. I know that too." There were evenings when I left counseling and sat in my car wanting to follow him home. Change made the decision harder, not easier. If he had remained cruel, I could have turned pain into certainty. Instead, he became more honest by inches. But honesty revealed things it could not repair. He admitted he had often preferred my exhaustion because exhausted Mara stayed home. He admitted that when relatives praised his patience, he rarely corrected them. He admitted he had mistaken access to me for intimacy and my usefulness for devotion. I admitted I had used competence to avoid being known. I had answered questions with schedules, apologies, and fixed problems. I had made Evan guess what I needed, then resented the accuracy of the wrong guesses. Both could be true without becoming equal. Near the end of winter, Dana asked us where we believed the marriage was going. Evan looked at me. I had stopped wearing my wedding ring in the duplex because it caught against the kitchen drawer. I had placed it in the green glass bowl where I kept my keys. That morning, I had left it there deliberately. "I'm not coming back," I said. He stared at my bare hand. "Ever?" "No." The room became painfully quiet. Dana did not rescue either of us from it. Evan pressed his palms together between his knees. "Is there someone else?" "Yes," I said. His head snapped up. "Me." He shut his eyes. That's a terrible line. I know, I'm sorry. It sounded rehearsed. It sounded better in my car. Despite everything, he laughed. The laugh lasted only a second. Then he bent forward and covered his face. I sat with him while he cried. I did not touch him until he reached for my hand. I thought if I did all this right, you'd have to come back, he said. That's still trying to make the right thing produce the outcome you want. I know. Do you? Yes. He wiped his face with the rough office tissue. I hate that I know. We agreed to end the marriage in the same office where we had tried to repair it. There was no victory in saying the words, no clean surge of freedom. I drove home, parked behind the duplex, and vomited beside Judith's hydrangeas. Judith came outside holding a rake. You sick? No. She considered that. You want a hose? Yes. That was the entire conversation. Evan and I divided the household without turning it into war. I kept the white bowls. He kept the slow cooker, though he did not cook. I gave him the fruit bowl and found Donna's old schedule envelope beneath it, still holding the printed payroll pages. I threw the pages away. The envelope had done its job. He kept the house because he wanted it, and I did not. I took my father's radio, the cracked mixing bowl, half the towels, and the blue glass pitcher. He brought the pitcher to the duplex himself. You left this in the cabinet, he said. The yellow carnations had died long before, but a faint mineral line marked where the water had stood. Thank you. He remained on the porch. Place looks good. It slopes. I noticed. You notice floors now? Ray makes me. He'd gotten thinner. His hair was more silver at the temples. He looked less polished and more like a person who slept badly. Mom says you're doing dinner again, he said. My anniversary. I know. He looked past me into the living room but did not ask to enter. I won't interfere. Thank you. I wanted to say. He rubbed the back of his neck. I'm glad they came. To dinner? To rehab. I held the pitcher against my chest. So am I. He nodded, walked to his truck, and left without trying to make the moment carry more than it could. By spring, the sloping floor no longer made me feel off balance. I hung curtains. I painted the bedroom a soft gray. Judith replaced the knocking radiator after I asked 3 times instead of deciding discomfort was easier than being demanding. I started working 3 days a week at a physical therapy clinic, handling schedules for people who paid me on Fridays. The job was ordinary. I liked that. On my 4th sobriety anniversary, I made chili. Not the same recipe. That felt superstitious. I bought folding chairs because the duplex had only 4 dining chairs and because Calvin had become emotionally attached to rolling furniture. Lena arrived first with cornbread. It stayed in the skillet, she announced. Personal growth. Don't patronize me. Wes brought flowers from the same gas station. This time they were white daisies. They were the least romantic again, he said. Are you tracking inventory? I'm consistent. Calvin arrived from Ohio carrying a pie without a discount sticker. Full price, he said, financially reckless. I wanted the evening to feel elevated. They knocked separately. None of them walked in before I opened the door. Marlene came last. I had invited her directly. She stood on the porch, holding a square pan covered in foil. I made cornbread, she said. Lena made cornbread. Well, mine came out of the skillet. From the kitchen, Lena shouted, Hostile action. Marlene smiled. Then she held out a card. Daisies covered the front. This one is new, she said. I kept trying to remember exactly what the old one said, but I couldn't. You don't have to replace it. I know. I took it anyway. Inside, she had written, I am glad you are here. Underneath, she had added her phone number. I already have your number, I said. I know. It seemed appropriate. We ate around my mismatched table. The chili was too spicy. Marlene drank 3 glasses of water and insisted it was delicious. Calvin's pie had shifted in the car and looked no better for costing full price. No one gave a speech. After dinner, while they argued over whether the cornbread should be judged on structure or taste, I opened the green kitchen drawer. I took out my bronze medallion and the plain white envelope. The badges unfolded stiffly. Lena Ortiz twice, Calvin Brooks, Wesley Hanley. The dates were faded but readable. I arranged them beside the medallion. The conversation quieted. Lena touched one of her badges with her fingertip. "You kept these?" "I did." "Why?" "I didn't know then." Marlene looked at the names. Her eyes filled, but she did not apologize again. She had learned that apologies did not need to be repeated until the other person made them feel successful. Calvin cleared his throat. "Is this the part where you announce you bought a kayak?" "No." "Then I'm not sure what we're doing." I laughed. The others did too. The room filled again, with bad pie, crooked cornbread, gas station daisies, and people who had shown up without claiming they had carried me. The 4 badges made pale corners around the bronze medallion. No one moved them to make room for anything else.